Hey, and we're back for Star Wars. Do you remember Star Wars?
Yes. Star Wars was a thing once at one point. Now we try to discover what it truly is these days. Especially these days.
Tim, if you're still in the chat and you want to join in the conversation, let me know and I'll send you the link to your email since I have that. But yeah, wait, let's go on my camera. Why did it the focus?
Yeah, we haven't talked too much about the Ahsoka show at all yet. We've been meaning to, but it's been kind of boring, so we haven't done much talking about it, to be honest.
Yeah, but this episode really kind of woke me up. It reminds me of Rookie with House of the Dragon. He's like, yeah, whatever. Oh.
Well, I wouldn't compare them. I wouldn't compare these.
No, I'm just saying, like, this episode, just like House of Dragon, is episode 4, when we had the sexy time.
Oh, right.
That, like, you kind of woke up to, like, the intrigue of the drama.
Yes.
And for me, it's that way with the show. I'm like, I don't even know what the plot is exactly. There's, like, 5 plot threads. And you don't know where the show's going to go, how long people are going to keep watching it. Apparently, it's renewed for season 2. I don't know why already, but
yeah, I don't know who's been enthusiastic about the show other than maybe Star Wars Theory, I guess. But I guess that's enough. But
yeah, we might have to react to something. Cause I haven't watched any of his crap about this show because I just don't care about the show. But I'm gonna have to see what is the angle people have of whoa, it's exciting.
Yeah, it's the opposite of exciting. It's pretty much abysmal, and even in this episode. So there's a few things in it that have finally piqued a little bit of interest, but overall it's still a boring episode. But there's a few things in it that's like, do we have something? Are we going? Maybe we got something. Maybe.
Yeah, that's
kind of. And I'm not talking about anything with Anakin. I don't give a fuck about that, really. I mean, it'd be cool, but I don't think they'll do anything.
Stop beating a dead horse.
I don't think they'll do anything with him. We're literally just talking about Ray Stevenson only, pretty much here with this.
Yeah, really. That's that and Harrison Dula's ass. That's like the two things the show has going for it.
The cameraman.
I'm so surprised.
Have that
if you told me after the end of Clone Wars season 5 when we thought it was over and Ahsoka leaves and this is the way they write her out of the plot to have been slaughtered by Order 66.
Yes.
Full of possibilities to just do tangent stories unrelated to the main timeline or whatever you want, technically. If you told me after that point, hey, actually, Disney, the people running Marvel Studios, which that's doing awesome, they're going to get Star Wars and make more stuff. They're going to make a whole new trilogy. They're going to make a spin-off Obi-Wan show, a Boba Fett show. They're going to have their own Mandalorian guy. It's not Boba Fett. They're going to do Ahsoka after the Empire falls. I'm like, what? This sounds awesome. I can't wait. They're gonna continue the Clone Wars, and Darth Maul's gonna have a real factor. I'm like, I love Darth Maul, my favorite guy in Star Wars, and and then we look back, 11 years of ownership, and it's like,
welcome to the Matrix.
Yeah, I would never expect an Ahsoka show with live action Rosario Dawson of all people playing her to be so fucking boring. Now, we did a deep dive because I'm aware of the World Between Worlds, but not really aware of World Between Worlds. I knew instantly it was a time travel, time loop, whatever, but then they try to say, well, it's contained. And it's like, no, you can't open this can of worms and then contain it. This is unless you destroy, unless you this is a Wish Upon a Star, Puss in Boots. It's everyone wants this wish on this star, and it's only one person can get it, so everyone's fighting for it, and it's a one-time thing. Unless you put those rules in place arbitrarily, it's not closed.
No, I feel like they'd open it anyway. I mean, again, I know that you think that there's enough justification for Sidious, but it's
There's
But
precedent in the EU. All
but
the
I'm
idiots from
saying
the EU is like, do EU, and then they do Dark Empire. Like,
no, but
fuck
I'm
Dark.
saying that they could destroy him a million ways, and there's never a 100% chance he'll be gone. You can get decapitated and probably have a good chance of surviving in Star Wars now. So it's like there's no real closing event. Whatever rules they put, they'll just have a loophole around it that doesn't make any sense anyway. Is what I'm saying.
Dude,
So
yeah,
they'll come up with
lightsabers.
something stupid.
They've totally ruined lightsabers. Like, it's one thing, like we've talked about Darth Maul coming back. It's a real stretch, but he's a Force user, and there's like a contrast of like, well, he's preserved himself, but he's like crazy, and they use magic to fix him.
I'd still prefer he have stayed dead, but they at least they showed that there's a lot of consequences to that happened. It wasn't like he just walked it off and he's good. Like there's a lot of fallback from the injury, which that's an important factor. If you're going to have any character survive serious wounds, that's the main thing I want, is to have consequences. Yeah. I don't like it when they just walk the fuck up and Batman, it's fine.
You know, the comics, Ra's al Ghul is like, he becomes, you know, kind of demented and crazy because of the Lazarus pit. It's like, this is the
he can heal
pros
himself.
And cons.
He can heal himself a bunch, but that's going to deter his mind a bit as it goes. With Sabine, the main thing I wanted when she got stabbed, I'm okay that she survived, but I'm more annoyed of the repetition of people that get injured and then they are just kind of totally fine afterward. There's like nothing of like that's a sore spot, like that's gonna affect them when they fight, adjust how they move, or like be a moment
like Frodo,
pain.
like Frodo,
like if she's
stab.
Yeah, but like if she just got to lift up something with her hands or something, and then you know injury, fuck, you know, like that could fuck up something that happens. You know, that could be a cause for why they crash or something goes wrong instead of something stupid happening. You could have this play in effect. Like she wants to become a Jedi again after the fight in episode 2 or whatever. Or one, I forget when she got stabbed, honestly. But after she got stabbed, she wants to be a Jedi now. But then there's no effect. The injury is just like treated like it's gone, like completely. And it's like I feel like she should start with a handicap of the injury, like slowing her down a bit. Maybe her progress would be better if she wasn't injured. But she's injured, so that's the reason why she's like going way slower or something like that. You know what I mean? Just in general, just a weakness, something. Angus, if you're talking, you sound muted. I'm not hearing you.
Oh, no.
Oh, there you are. There you are. Now I hear you.
I had my hand over it. That's probably why. Yeah, Tim Balon. I don't remember his last name. I kind of don't like his name.
I just call him Ray Stevenson. That's a better name.
Ray Stevenson
just a better name.
Fucking awesome. I don't know if I've ever seen him perform bad. Like, I love him in Punisher Warzone. Rome, of course, is awesome. I'm trying to think of something else I've seen him in.
Yeah, he does.
He's good in this. It's a very subtle role. Very minimal dialogue, which I like, especially for a bad guy. Like,
I wish they gave him better dialogue, but the dialogue he delivers well. So
a bad guy needs to be kind of like Batman in the animated series, or the Batman. He needs to be a minimal speaker. You know, it needs to be purposeful and exact. A villain should be someone that like their direction, like they're very pertinent. They get to the point. And they don't fiddle around, and they don't have morality holding them back. And
he doesn't feel like he's trying to be evil. He seems like he's just trying to accomplish a goal. And if you're in his way, he's willing to take you down. But he's not starting with "I'm going to kill you." Like, I like that. It's not.
Yeah, he feels very Dooku-y, and also little thing is what paying attention to his stance. It's not that I'm like a wizard about Jedi combat styles of like, oh, well, that is form 7 out of the 8 forms of Jedi.
Actually, that's a combination of number 3 and 6.
No, yeah, see that shit. I'm like, cool. Like, I'm glad you can find that, but that's just an aspect I don't give a fuck about.
That's just an extra passion that
I'm just like, whoa, he fought this way and he did this move. That was cool, but like actual form, like I feel it's kind of bullshit. I don't think there's. You can say there is, but I don't. It's just swing your lightsaber. I appreciate it's done well. Like, clearly, Maul has a very unique style compared to a lot of other people we've seen. But at the end of the day, it's like if you said he had a full actual form, I'm like, well, it's just he has a double-sided, so this is why he twirls and stuff.
I
It's
mean, I
defensive.
would see it as like, yeah, there's probably lots of forms, but you switch based on how you feel like, just like in fencing or something. There's different
Yeah.
forms.
Anyway,
That's what I applied.
Balon, when he's fighting,
Yeah.
he does like this like kind of Vader from the, you know, projecting a saber from his crotch, just standing there, and then he like goes to the side and he has the Qui-Gon pose. I'm like, oh, I know that pose.
But he seemed to switch it in reaction to what Ahsoka does. But that's the thing with while he's doing his stuff and we're learning about his sort of how he fights, Ahsoka's like, I don't know what the fuck does she have a form anymore? Does she have a style anymore how she fights? Because she used to have, you know, in the Clone Wars show, she kind of has distinctive, just some different ones. Sure, it's not like the same form every time, but she had a style, like how Obi-Wan has a style. Quite, they all have styles sort of that they go to. I have no idea what Ahsoka's is, and her attack patterns now are so, I don't know, like it's nothing defining to her character, which you'd think by now it kind of would be. And what's interesting with these two, since he's not like a Sith, he's a former Jedi who's not really a Sith, but he's not a Jedi either. Whatever, she is a gray Jedi or something. She's left the Jedi, whatever. They could have some interesting type of, you know, conversation and clashing with what they're doing, but they don't really lean into that enough. There's like a line of dialogue that sort of goes into that. He's like, you know, this is the only way you know how to handle a situation, huh? He says something like that when he's got her against the cliff and then takes her down. But like, he's like, you know, you just had to come in fighting, pretty much.
I hope there is like if you're going to make a big thing, spoiler, Anakin Skywalker pops up and says like, "Hey, what's up?" In the world between worlds. Woo! It was funny because we're going to be jumping all over the place. Balon.
It's Ray Stevenson, just Ray Stevenson.
Balon.
I'm not calling him Balon.
And what's his name? Her name, Ahsoka. They fight, and he gets her on a cliff, and then like he does a move to like throw her off the cliff, and then we cut back to that scene where it's going to show like a follow up what happened, and they make it seem like the water, but then it kind of turns into like starry looking, and I'm like, oh wow, she fell on the Force, yeah. And then it's like world between worlds. Oh wow, they're really pulling this out of their ass again. I knew it.
I love what he said. She fell on the Force. I'm like, well, yeah, she did fall on the Force. She just kind of where she would have died or at least gotten really injured or something. She just kind of falls on the Force and is now in the world between worlds. And it's like, so I guess it can just come out of nowhere. And it's, I don't know. I don't understand how they think that was a good move. But they're like,
well, the fact that like
Anakin's
it's not now. Ezra and it's Anakin, but this is like a time loop thing. And it's like, well, if he knows to pull her out of this, then this undercuts his whole storyline. If he's there in this like no time, no space.
Would it be area? That he goes back in with the knowledge of this at all, or just, you know, I don't know. I assume it's almost a clone at this point with these things. Like Ahsoka did die when Vader killed her, but then like Ezra pulled out a version of her that doesn't die, essentially. But there was a version that did die. I guess that's the closest I can.
Yeah, when people want to cry about
like a time double or something.
If you want to cry about in-game, just watch the show and watch like what they're doing in Star Wars now. My prediction, because there's this whole big thing they're pulling, I think, from the Yuzon Vong, whatever bullshit from the EU. Thrawn. Thrawn was cool, I assume, before the prequels were made, and then we get the prequels and it's like whatever. Thrawn, afterthought. They're really doing. Man, I'm all over the place. So a problem with the Ahsoka show is that there is no reintroduction to the character. They're relying on making you watch Rebels and Clone Wars, which I love Clone Wars. Rebels sucks. And like most people aren't going to put the time in to watch 11 seasons of cartoons to like catch up. You need to like cliff notes this shit.
And they're like 40-minute episode cartoons. They're not like 20-minute or something. They're long.
Right. And so you need to just reintroduce this character live action.
All of them.
You really cannot make people like, it's one thing to be like, hey, go watch Mandalorian. It's like, you know, for whatever reason, general public, there is like, okay, I'll put the effort in to watch a live action show. They're not going to watch a cartoon. You're going to get maybe 10% of the audience that will check this out. or be invested, maybe 10% will actually watch the Clone Wars. And so that's a real problem. This World Between Worlds crap is a huge MacGuffin. But Thrawn, they're really selling this Threat of Thrawn live action, which also he's in Rebels.
They're treating him like he's Thanos. I've heard.
Not only that, but they're doing like Star Trek Into Darkness with Khan. He's like, I am Khan. And it's like, they should just be like, all right, dude, cool. I'm Captain Kirk. This is Spock. You're a bad guy. Well, you're in prison. This should mean nothing to them until they're informed. Like, oh, no, now he's in our timeline. Oh, this could be bad. They don't do that. And they're really still like, oh, you know the name as the... It's very meta. And you can't do that. You can't make meta material. Like the material can be meta in its concept, its context, but you can't actually deliver characters in this meta form of like, get it? Aren't you? Oh, this is scary because a bad guy. It's like if they brought in Thanos out of like, they try to like have him be like an in-game state character, but we've restarted the MCU. And it's like, well, that doesn't matter to these new versions that have no idea about Thanos.
Yeah. Well, and it's like with Thrawn, like the way that they're treating it, well, not just Thrawn. I mean, Ahsoka's like, do you want to start another war? And it's like, I feel like you guys technically haven't ended the other war yet, really. Like that star blew up and the main leaders were taken out. And what you're doing is like, you're still finishing the war. It's not done though. Like, this
is the Reconstruction era. This is what happened after the Civil War in America. The Reconstruction era, and Lincoln died, and thus he wasn't able to preserve this kind of fair treatment of the losers.
Like there's going to be some time where it's still the effects of it. So when she's like, oh, you want to start another war? It's like, I guess you just have more of an actual person that I guess people would follow. They'd be more unified.
Which it would suck to be in this era of Star Wars since the prequels. You've had essentially off and on, like more or less like 100 years of warfare. Just never really stopping.
1,000 years of full-on peace to like just constant war, just happening all the time.
Yeah, by the time you get to the First Order, I feel like people would just be like, "What?" They'd be like Monty Python with the peasant, where it's like, "Oh, you're the king. Well, what does that mean to me? I'm just a fucking peasant." So it's all the same to me.
The regime seems to change all the fucking time. Why would I give a fuck? Like,
yeah. There needs to be that's why I liked the best parts of Mandalorian season 3 is the political intrigue with the Doctor and the double agent from the Empire or
emerging of different factions, sort of.
Yeah, where it's like, oh, look how extreme the Republic is. Where it's like, oh, well, Nazis did that thing, so we're never doing it. It's like, it's more about like ethical application. It's not like the tools. It's like a gun. It's per example. It's like guns don't kill people. I kill people.
Right. Our favorite quote from Happy Gilmore. It wasn't even spoken, but we love that. But it's Hitler drank water. He liked dogs, so kill all water and don't drink dogs. Fuck it.
I thought you were purposely making.
No,
what an idiot!
I realized it as I said, don't kill water.
Kill water and drink dogs.
I committed to it though. I'm like, I'll finish it though. Fuck. Don't kill dogs and don't drink water. That sort of thing.
I'm pretty sure in SpongeBob, the movie, when they're drunk off the ice cream and they're like, my two bestest friends in the whole world, Patrick and this big peanut guy. And he's like, here's a song to call. I'm pretty sure Patrick, like whatever, SpongeBob's like, ooh, or what it makes some like sound. I'm pretty sure Patrick's like, retard or something like.
That'd be close, I'm sure.
God, there's so much. This show really encapsulates what's wrong with Star Wars. It's like, I appreciate this like attempt at a more serious tone, but when you go for this angle and then you're like, oh man, lightsaber wounding, she's in the hospital, whatever, and then you also have conveniently a Force user or an adherent to the Force, whatever this undisclosed Nazgul knight guy. He gets sliced with the lightsaber, and then he turns to like dust out of his suit, like a Nazgul. It's like anytime I watch a lightsaber cut, it's like, oh, isn't it convenient that you want it to like work now?
Well, and when as you pointed out, like they're showing as they're doing their fight in the forest, the lightsabers are slicing trees like butter. And like Ray Stevenson throws a rock at Ahsoka, she slices the rock in half easily.
Rocks are no match for lightsabers, but flesh,
yeah,
no problem.
It's like, and again, surviving it is one thing because like people go, well, Anakin survived being, a torso and burned and whatever. Yeah, and look at what happened. Consequences from that.
He's forever stuck in a suit.
He's got to heal himself in a bacta tank. He's got to get like put together every day. Like it ain't a fun life for him now. He's not going to be like, hey, I'm the, hey ladies, what's up now? No, that's not him anymore. It's gone. He's a robot freak now. Like, yeah, that strengthens him to the dark side. Like that has an effect on him. It like solidified him. If there's any chance of him coming back, him doing that for the longest time is what sealed it until Luke came around, of course. But for the time, that's what that was. Like, okay, this is what it is now. And so I don't know. Again, wish there's more long-lasting things in this episode. In episode 4, they try to have things seem like it's good. Like, the dialogue is still not very good at all. There's still awkward pausing. There's still not much emotion from most characters.
Yeah, it's like the way they're talking, it should be, there's a sense of dread and urgency of like, we got to fix the ships. We got to get in contact with her and try to rally with her being a general to stop this hyperspace thing because they use the map to like, they're trying to get Thrawn.
Yeah, they're trying to get Thrawn. They're going to start
another war. Thrawn! No Thrawn! Bad Thrawn! Which
you can have a
new
war.
Audience, you're like, who the fuck's Thrawn?
Yeah. But then it's like, they're just like, we should hurry. Like that's how they do their dialogue, and then pause. Sabine. Just turn around, slow turn around, and it's like, what? Just the dialogue they have is not very good. Like, I want to look at, because I feel like they want to emulate a Game of Thrones, but they don't have any idea how to do that. They're like,
oh, okay, wait, really quick.
Idea.
This is the thing. I saw the article, but we gotta look through this. Let me share it.
Yeah, Grace Randolph said that this episode had Game of Thrones level stuff. It's like the worst Game of Thrones is probably better than this, I think.
Dude,
like,
well, this is the thing. This is why I like the Harley Quinn movie. Is because it's an amateur attempt at like a Tarantino film. It's again amateur and it fails at that mark spectacularly.
Yeah.
There's no comparison to like the threshold that they each hit. But
yeah,
because DC's failing left and right, so like they'll actually try things instead of like Disney. Oh, we tried Thor Ragnarok, that worked, so do it again. And of course, it's like haphazardly at the second time around. At best, when you're doing that, you want to do like Deadpool 2, where it's like it's less impactful because it's maintaining the same thing. It was good, and it's just less surprising the second time around when there's no real. But like that's probably the best comparison I can give personally. Of like, you did the thing again, and it's good. Or I mean, I guess Force Awakens, but that really baited off of fan anticipation of, oh my god, there's more Star Wars. 10 years of, we thought it was done and we're stuck at TV. So that is a loaded bag compared to the Deadpool 2 comparison. But yeah, so this is funny. We're gonna pick through this really quick. The Mary Sue. No one's really talked about them in a while, but I saw it streaming. Physician explains why some lightsaber stabs are non-lethal. And look who's here. Reva, our favorite POC.
Oh, the one who survived 2 stabs. Gotcha.
Which is like, oh man, my new crowned Lord of the Sith Vader who decimates by himself in a detachment of 501st Troopers, decimates almost all the Jedi, including all the others spread across the galaxy. Look, everyone. Oh, sorry. Look, everyone knows the real reason why Qui-Gon dies after getting stabbed by a lightsaber, while Sabine Wren survives, and Ahsoka and Reva and the Grand Inquisitors seem to treat their stab wounds more like paper cuts. I can almost hear the pitch meeting guy going, super easy, barely an inconvenience.
Yes.
What's the reason? Because the story demands it, and the Star Wars writing is delightfully inconsistent.
Delightfully inconsistent.
The best medical care you can get is a crucial plot beat in the episode after you get stabbed. But we sci-fi fans desperately want things to make sense. That's why Dr. Tricia Pendergrast and an
anesthesiologist. Whatever.
Yeah, the way it's spelled, I'm expecting other letters. So
I know what you mean. Yeah.
And Star Wars lover. Well, because I know anesthetist. That's like the technician, not necessarily the doctor. Yeah. You need. I think you need a doctor to like clear things. Whatever. And Star Wars lover took to TikTok to offer a theory on why a lightsaber gut wound is only lethal some of the time.
TikTok, wow, our best resource.
You know, Lethal should make an account where it's just sometimes lethal lightning.
That's a good. Sometimes lethal.
Sometimes lethal.
Or
sometimes not so lethal.
The nearly headless Nick of Star Wars.
Running down the middle of your body, Pendergrast explains, are two major blood vessels: the descending aorta and the inferior vena cava. In the Phantom Menace, Darth Maul stabs Qui-Gon right in the center of his body, cutting off one or both of those vessels. Even if the lightsaber cauterization prevents Qui-Gon from bleeding out, the wound would still cut off the blood flow to his heart. Dr. Pendergrast goes on explaining that when Reva is stabbed, she appears to get hit lower down in the abdomen and to the side. While she might sustain some damage to her internal organs, the cauterization would prevent her from bleeding out. No long-term harm done.
Well, hold on. I mean, wouldn't having a hole the size of a golf ball or bigger, like, in your body going all the way through, like, have long-term issues? Like, no matter what.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I survived, but now I need a colostomy bit. I need a Jedi colostomy bag.
You are now forever kind of fucked. Even if you survive that, you are now crippled in a way. You are going to be handicapped. You are not going to be.
Like, you got to assume Darth Vader has a diaper, or he has to have some sort of space poop destroyer in his suit. You know, like, this is an aspect. It's not just like, oh, let me just take my suit off. It's like, no, he has to like hop in a Bacta tank and to try to
he's got a lot of processes he needs to heal himself and stay alive.
He can't breathe without his mask. That's like the main thing.
I'd imagine that they'd at least have like some type of robotic plates they got to put there, and then it's going to be like, you know, like sometimes when you do certain fights, it's going to get you a little harder and whatnot.
Yeah. But let's look at this video explaining this crap above.
On this angle, whether.
Oh my god, what did I do?
Related cat videos.
Oh, okay, here we go.
Or not, it was right on the midline, or maybe a little bit to the left or right. Regardless, Reva's lightsaber either went below the bifurcation of the aorta, so where it splits into two.
Oh, so it stabbed her womb.
Iliac arteries and veins.
So now she's sterile.
Well, it's also, again, it's not just like a stab, like a poke with a sharp object. It's burning a hole through your flesh. Like, it's not like a, you know, like a pokey poke. It's a through fire and plasma, I will drill a hole in your body.
So this is already dumb because it's like you're talking about like I know in Star Wars it's like essentially executed as like a hot sword, a melty sword. But in reality, if you're wanting to talk about reality, the reality of a plasma beam that somehow is contained at a certain length, the heat it would have to be able to melt comparable objects on Earth, slice through rocks, easily. It would have to be intensely hot. You're talking about stuff like hotter than melting steel down or something. So yeah, like that kind of heat. Even if we're able to contain it in this like tube. Somehow the heat would like kill you instantly.
The point is when you have contact with, like, they make it clear that when it's close to you it's fine, but if it makes contact with you it fucking hurts. So even when Dooku like grazed Obi-Wan's arm and leg, that took Obi-Wan out of the fight entirely. Which in other
so
material,
they'll argue, the shills
was
will argue, well, Luke Skywalker, wait, did Luke get tapped by the saber with Vader? I know he hit Vader in the arm.
He hit Vader in the arm, but he's like robotic. I don't remember.
Well, no, that's just the he's got arms from like basically his elbow joint up, his flesh.
Well, I don't. Arms. I know, but he has a shoulder piece. I don't know, like
Right, but he goes, so like it hurt him. He got like tapped by the saber. Did he get Luke at all? Before
I don't. I know he got his hand, but I don't remember anything else.
Regardless, they'll use that as like, see, Star Wars is inconsistent. It's like, well, he's wearing a spacesuit, so there's all sorts of sci-fi crap you can say. Like his spacesuit can survive the vacuum of space. This is in the canon, so you have to retroactively be like, all right, well, this suit, if they didn't already delineate this in La Saga, it is now canon that his suit can survive the pressure of space, at least temporarily. So we don't know how reinforced it is. So lightsaber tap, it's like, oh yeah, it's still like burn them, but it's probably like less than just wearing a Camino of a Jedi.
Well, and somebody else brought up like, that Leia got shot in the arm, and that, well, shouldn't that have like killed her too with how close that was? And I say, well, no, but I do think that it should have done more damage than a little, you got my arm. Like that.
Yeah, especially like one blast
more
is like
severe.
Troopers wearing
wound.
Armor like, dead.
Yeah, I feel like that should have been a more severe wound for Leia that maybe carries her into the day where, she might not be able to use that arm very well going forward. Some type of consequence to getting shot.
Something like soldiers getting shrapnel that they just leave in your arm. And so you have like, if you move your arm certain, you're like, or you can't bend it certain without pinching like a nerve. Something like that where it's like, this is like a little...
it's a scar
from the war.
I would.
It's
like,
never going to leave you.
That's something in the OT that I wish was addressed a little bit more. And
it's a metaphor on top of an actual physical consequence. That's a good carryover.
Yeah, and I hate the Star Wars is an inconsistent thing. Well, that doesn't mean that doing more inconsistencies makes it better at all. Like, even so, like some people say, well, Return of the Jedi like copied the first one by having a second Death Star. And it's like, okay, well, I don't think that was the best move they could have done. But if anything, the first time they repeat it, it's like, well, the first time that you blew up the Death Star, that was a total fluke. Like we had an oversight.
Yeah, because they game planned for it the second time, and that got undermined.
Well, and
it's
so
like the tightest of windows.
They're like, okay, we had a perfect plan. We saw it work. And then we got fucked and we were too cocky. But now we're prepared and we can use it to like get all of them out and we can destroy them all in one fell swoop. So that's like they justify why they do that. But then if you then after that's destroyed,
it's already operational.
Yeah.
And also we put a big force field around it on top of all the defensive measures, on top of an armada of ships to counter any surprise
They're
attacks.
ready to defend the station.
We have trapped you idiots. Yeah. And it's only through the most, luckiest of circumstances, everything works out. Because it's like, even if Luke destroys the Emperor with Vader, there's no guarantee that the Death Star is falling apart.
Exactly.
That part could be executed, and then there's still like Han and Leia get
caught. That's always what I was saying. I mean, the whole final thing was based on everybody else doing their part. Luke's part is more for us to watch rather than it being that vital to the
and if Han and Leia don't get the shield down, then Lando can never run in there and shoot the Death Star core reactor.
It was there's multiple pieces that they really made up for their failure of the first Death Star. But then after the second one's destroyed, I feel like they could put that plan to bed for the most part. Like if you're going to ever have it again, just probably don't.
We saw that. It's called The Force Awakens. And the only way they could figure out how to get everyone to work was, we'll just have a bulletproof for their universe, a bulletproof trooper gets scared for no reason and drop the shields to let people come there.
Yeah, like that whole thing just shouldn't have been. Well, like in universe, I don't think that was a good plan anyway. It's like it didn't make any sense, and it was ridiculous because it needed a sun. They needed on a planet to absorb a sun to destroy other planets, and they would all be dead as soon as they absorb a sun like that. That's all just stupid anyway. But
I feel like
if
absorbing a sun would be way more power, where you should be able to get like, I don't know, 2 or 3 shots off with it at least.
No, that does no. I'm saying you would all. No, I'm saying they would all die after that. It is kind of the idea. It's the planet that is in the orbit. That's what I'm saying.
Well, it's like, all right, this is sci-fi, so the rules don't apply
no.
necessarily.
So we're getting away from my point. My point, though, is even if it wasn't that, if it was another Death Star, specifically like the same as the original ones, if they're doing another one, that would still be really stupid, I think, like by that point. So just because you repeat something once, it doesn't mean, well, we can repeat it 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Like that's still dumb. The more you do it, the more you do it, the more dumb
make
it
an
kind of
armada of 1,000 ships that all have Death Star.
No, why
shooters.
Even bother with the ship? Just make a gun that blows up a planet. Fuck it. Like, I can wield a planet destroying thing. But my point is that repetition doesn't make it okay to keep on doing it. Like,
yeah.
So that goes back.
Hey, Max.
That brings us back.
You're gonna have to let me know why you changed your name, you asshole. Because I'm scrolling through Twitter, YouTube. I'm like, Maximum FOMO. What the hell is this?
That brings us back to our Star Wars thing here.
Let me know if you want to link, Max.
When people get hit, when people get injured, and they treat it like they should be dead at first, and then oh nope, they're gonna heal up and they're just fine. Like the more times that happens, the less times we believe you. And when you especially act like, oh, they're dead, but then they're not dead, like they come back. Like they come back to life.
But wait,
there's
more.
Yeah, like the Sidious thing, as dumb as I think their reasoning for it was, he is the main one where you could have a little bit of leeway that he's gonna come back in some way.
Yeah, it's not ridiculous to think that this guy that arguably is responsible for creating or doing something so drastic that the Force spits out Anakin in reaction to it. It's not crazy that he could figure out to like shift his essence.
With me, it's more if there was anything that led up to showing how this happens and like that he was,
somehow
something instead of being somehow he returned. Yeah, that would at least have been more satisfying.
Wait, let's finish this video.
Would not have been immediately life-threatening because there is a redundant system of arteries and veins depending on where he got stabbed. Or, again, it was below the main vessels. And, of course, there is the healing power of revenge. It does wonders for the will to live, don't you think?
Yeah, she said the line from the thing.
So Sabine used revenge to heal? Or she's talking about Reva.
Yeah, well, Reva and...
She got stabbed as a child and as an adult.
This is
and Sabine.
Reva survived as a child somehow because they just, I guess, stabbed her wrong. And then
now Wen also survived getting like sniped in the fucking.
Isn't she like? Didn't they have to like robot her partially?
Well, so yeah, but then they had her do robot parts to her stomach, but then that also never really affected her at all either, which kind of annoyed me too. That it was like, oh, I totally forgot you had any injury at all. Like,
well, she's post-wall, so it's not like she's really
like again. So even Luke, so when Luke lost his hand, like when Luke lost his hand, that did play a part with him, where he's like, I could become this is affecting me in some way. I could be like my father, who's also lost limbs and become a robotic and less human or something.
Yeah, he's wondering about like a kind of legacy-based destiny.
The injury affected him in some way, which that was good that happened. With all these other people, it just seems to be like you got a tiny little.
What? Your channel's suspended? Nothing. How did that happen? Let me know. I gotta catch up with you, Max. I have what has transpired for you to reveal your face. It was fun when you're anonymous and we don't know what's under the mask. Like it's like Double D's hat.
He could have also been Doomcock, for all we know.
Oh, that'd been hilarious. He's actually the YouTube
could have been Doomcock and Mad
Max. It's like, I'm gonna say Kathleen Kennedy's getting fired as Doomcock, and then I'm gonna be Max and say, screw these incels for saying this lies on the internet.
The ultimate Palpatine of the Star Wars YouTubing sphere.
Or, for all you know, it's Star Wars theory under the Max costume.
Exactly. You never know.
Yeah, the Ray Stevenson's like the only thing, in my opinion, really going for it. I was very surprised. So, it's weird. Like, I don't mind leftist, to whatever extent, however severe. I don't mind leftist ideology being in content. I just wish it was more even-handed. That they weren't. Django's the perfect example. Django is like a leftist sentiment. You know, it's like, well, let's blackify the whitest, media, the cowboy, the Western. Let's blaxploitate it, make him it's undermining the natural foundation of the Western. Because you think about the old West, there's a few like famous black guys in history, and there's a lot of like guys that became soldiers or cowboys. Cowboys in general were pretty colorblind for the time, because it's trash work. You're hauling cattle across the country for months, and all you do is eat beans twice a day for the most part. Maybe you hunt or fish here and there, but it's like a crappy life. You made equivalent of our standards, $600 a month. So you made dog shit for really hard work. But yeah, Django's a great example in various ways. It's like, I think, kind of a precursor to BLM, if not BLM sentiment. And I don't mind it. I'm not watching it thinking, wow, this BLM movie, screw this, it's woke. It's like, oh, the perspective makes a lot of sense. It's a slave. It's a very black minimal genre. So they're playing with it in various ways. Even in the soundtrack, they're including like rap and stuff, black music of modern day. It's a clash with the genre. Nightcrawler is another great one. Or like Dark Knight and Civil War movies that argue political perspectives with no right answer. You're not getting that. So it's like, I'm not triggered by the pronouns in Starfield. I mean, I don't care about gaming in general, but it's like such a non-conversation. It's like, oh, it's an option for you. You can just live in binary and be he, him in a binary. Or you can be he, him as an ally for it's whatever. But I don't think you can ignore the fact that Star Wars is for boys. It's for men. It appeals to male sensibilities. There's a reason like women love stupid rom-coms and stuff. It's not that women can't like Star Wars, but the women that like it are liking a male environment. I would say more women would be prone to watch Star Trek than Star Wars and actually invest because of like drama and interpersonal, conflict versus cosmological and war. Very male things. Look at philosophy. There's almost no women in philosophy historically until the last probably 100 years, 200 years. So it's societal, but I think it's also just women aren't interested in like such an abstract field. And so you can't help but notice, like, wow, they've really overloaded a cast in a male, not just dominated like cast or whatever, but a male heavy fan base. It's a male satisfying subgenre or whatever. And you load it with women. It feels, you can argue forced, or like, wow, you've preyed upon male sensibilities, now you're forcing women into it. Over it's like Stan Lee talks about like the perfect ratio. There's a reason why the Fantastic Four is 3-to-1 male to female. It's because like anymore it's like an imbalance.
Well, it's like they think that adding more women to the show will bring women viewers to
the
show. And it's like, I feel like more women would want to also see Ray Stevenson. Like,
well, no, the women that come, it's very superficial. So even if you get viewership of women because you start doing like Twilight, like I'm not crapping on Twilight. Like Twilight is a bad series. It's poorly written, but there's like a subconscious like appeal of like love triangle and whatnot, and being essentially a princess. She's special, and they're fighting over her for their end goals or whatever, both like mating and for like getting her in the tribes or whatever. Women love that. Women love stories about being like the hidden gem that's really the chosen girl for the kingdom or whatever.
That's why they like Harry Potter. No, just kidding.
Harry Potter's a bit weird. It's weird that yeah, but yeah, like even if girls tune in because you start writing girl-based, girl-appealing plot threads, girls hand over fist are not the ones that are buying merch that sustain franchises because of capitalism really have these are just marketing ads. No matter how good or bad they're written, these are marketing ads to sell crap. This is the strategy now. So Across the Spider-Verse didn't make money. It broke even, but it got awards, so it has like long-term credibility. And also it's Spider-Man, so it's an avenue to sell variant Spider-Man toys and merchandise. Men are the ones that invest and put the toys on their wall and buy the stupid LARPing stuff. Women will cosplay more than likely for Instagram and OnlyFans. That's going to be their angle.
Yeah, they'll get the Leia outfit or something like that.
Yeah, and again, you might get me on generalities. It's not everyone's like, well, sure, there are like legitimate fans or whatever, but generalities stand because they are a norm. They are a trend.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk in generalities. Really quick, Disinferno says, my theory why Anakin in World Between Worlds, Anakin said, I wasn't expecting to see you so soon. That's because Ahsoka left Anakin and he somehow came in World Between Worlds before their reunion in Clone Wars Season 7 and saved her from death. So this Anakin is in fact real Anakin before he turned to Vader. Again, I talked about this earlier. I think the World Between Worlds is stupid. It looks beautiful. It's cool, especially live action, but it's stupid. Yeah. It's only bad can come from this, I think.
I would only think that you could do it.
Thread.
I would only think of it as something that a character could like enter into, but like they can't come out of or something. Like they have knowledge, but they can't.
Yeah, it should be something like
there's a catch to it.
It should be the Barbie movie. Kind of, even though the Barbie movie can kind of go both ways, it should be like the Barbie movie conceptually of like, I'm piercing the veil and I'm going to stay here and I'm going to be a woman and not a toy. And thus I'm going to accept a lot of the cons that come with that versus I can live in, I can live in like Plato's cave and be unaware of the outside world and be, I can't think of the word right now, but aloof to say the least. And she chooses, to eat the apple. It's kind of a not so drastic Garden of Eden idea of like, well, you can have knowledge. With knowledge comes suffering.
Yeah.
I think this idea is only Star Wars is good because it's like there's always finality. Like the only lack of finality for characters is in the Force. Which is like seems to be hard.
And even then, it's limiting though. It's not like forever of all these different things unlimited. It's still like a limitation to it.
Well, you're a ghost. A ghost kind of like it's kind of a hell because you can't quite interact. Star Wars has it where it's like these special ghosts who have done whatever deeds to like reach this state can have some interaction and help try to influence for the collective good certain characters. But they have no agency themselves to like enact these things. They can only be guides. It's kind of like Virgil in Dante's Inferno. So like that was kind of your best bet in Star Wars before. It's like, well, if you die, maybe you're good enough to be a Force ghost. Now it's like, oh well, I can just roll between worlds a character. Maybe I have to trade off for someone, but you can just write a character no one cares about to be the sacrifice.
What was the consequence for Ahsoka being pulled out of the World Between Worlds?
She is like mentally, essentially, like her personality's gone, more or less. She's kind of a robot. She has all her knowledge, but like no real. It's like changed her. So that could be their excuse of why like the acting kind of sucks for Ahsoka. For her,
just like I don't know. It's just like then why bother with it? Why'd they even pull her the fuck out in the first place? Like that's so.
Oh, because she has ties with Anakin going back to the Clone Wars. So
I feel like that really shouldn't have been an option at all. Still in the first place, just like you can't just pull out a character.
Yeah, no. Star Wars was great because it was unlike comics where you can have reboots and you can have multiverses and whatnot and dimensions. Besides the dimension of the Force and the wills, whatever that we haven't really addressed. you're limited. Death is final. You have the additional plane you can go to is only after death, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's limiting. And so you got to write within these parameters. Now they've like opened it up. But funny theory. So I think they're going to try to do some sort of Yuzon Vong. They're trying to Marvel Star Wars in the sense of like multiverse and ridiculous level threats to try to ramp up people's anticipation, you know? And so I think they're going to do, whether it's the actual Yuzon Vong or not, they're trying to open up this portal to another complete galaxy that has maybe different rules, different level of villains or whatever. So you can try to Thanos or you know, Galactus size threat to Star Wars from another galaxy or dimension. And
between the First Order, by the way, which this event is never mentioned.
Dude, this my god, that's gonna be like Rise of the Beast. You know, it's like, oh yeah, this is canonical with the Transformers series you've seen. And by the way, before Optimus makes himself known to Sam Witwicky and family and has this trilogy of shenanigans and continues afterward with Mark Wahlberg. Before that, in the 90s, there was a Galactus level event that like was encompassing the whole Western Hemisphere because of these Transformers, good and bad, in their fight for conquest of the galaxy. And luckily they stopped them. And no one seems to remember that like this giant space cloud thing was covering half the Earth, anticipating eating it.
People still talk about like the balloons that might have been over one of the bases in America during World War II or something, like, you know, an almost nothing thing that is still talked about. That would have been talked about.
It was still talking about JFK and the Cuban Missile Crisis, which never really popped off. It was just like a stalemate of like two big entities like beefing.
Amelia Earhart disappearing. That's just like a person. A huge space cloud thing would be in our history.
We still talk about, we still discuss the event of two buildings and its calamity.
Well, within Star Wars, like, you know, so like in A New Hope, like I feel like the sentiment wasn't Jedi were real. It was more Luke specifically on Tatooine, way the fuck where there wasn't really Jedi ever in the first place. Like, you know, hearing about these things is like, wow, they existed. Like, okay, wow, you know.
Well, I feel it's a little silly actually. This is one of the, you say, inconsistencies. Is you know, Vader. They talk about like Jedi were just a class of people, not that there was Jedi Sith. You know, that seems to be a more definition later, with especially like the Emperor's like, so be it, Jedi, where it's like, oh, okay, now Jedi is clearly distinct from whatever Palpatine and Vader are, but Vader is a fallen Jedi. The way the Empire talks about, which this is supposed to be, let's say, 20 years after the Clone Wars, when the Jedi were peacekeeping generals across the galaxy in intergalactic war. You know, it's like, oh, that old fogey religion, you know, no one cares, Vader. And he's like, choke.
Yeah, but I'm referring
funny
to
that, yeah, this is one of those things where it's an inconsistency that Lucas didn't understand what he was writing.
That was an inconsistency, but I'm talking about like from like Luke's perspective or something. Like,
sure, Luke's a dumb kid. Like, also, his family might like the Lars might be like lying about like, oh, that's evil or that's false. You know, like I grew up with a wacko Christian mom where everything's the devil. So, you know, if she couldn't keep me from knowing about a thing, she would contextualize it as evil. So there might have been that kind of misgiving.
Yeah, there wasn't enough of a perspective from other people to know that they think that Jedi are a myth or whatever. Like when he sliced off the dude's arm at the cantina, it didn't seem like they were like, what's that thing? That's a cool thing. I've never seen that before.
Han Solo seems to have some recognition.
They're just kind of like, okay.
Han Solo seems to like recognize the idea of the Jedi, but he seems to be from an area where they were never a factor in his life. Thus, if they're real or not and their powers, it's like, they're not helping me. So it effectively is fake.
Yeah, which you could say that's a thing that happens in general, like in the real current world with some.
Well, yeah, it's like being Catholic specifically in my past, like there's all these miracles supposedly. And it's like, well, if I'm in like Afghanistan and I'm just some tribal dipshit that I'm stuck in my little tribal area, don't get out much, because I'm a shepherd. This has no bearing on my life. These mysteries or whatever.
Well, even like actual monks, like Shaolin monks or some shit that like have like really interesting physical abilities. Like that's tough for me to fully believe. I've seen things where like they have their finger and they can like poke a hole in a fucking tree practically. Like I don't know how the fuck you know it's not that significant.
You just have to break your finger many times.
But that's essentially what they do. They like poke at hard objects.
Dude, that might be the trick. Is like
finger.
they've actually
like
they've over calcified their finger from all their breaks, and now it's actually
something like that. They're able. I don't know if it was a tree, but like it's something hard. I think somebody tried to do it themselves, and like, ow, fuck, like like that hurt. Like you can't, they're able to like poke a hole in it. And it's like, so my point is that sounds almost unbelievable, but that's a smaller scale. But
yeah.
Anyway, I forget what our specific point was. The World Between Worlds, I think, was our thing.
Yeah, it's adding so much. It's adding just it. Oh, my thing was, as dumb as I think the World Between Worlds is for this kind of universe, that was, you get killed, it's over. There's no like bringing you back unless you're a Force user, like Maul or Palpatine, with their no rules with their Force use. They can do nefarious things with the Force. More or less, characters have finality. There's consequence. Now it's like this is unfortunately a great argument for Eric July in his multiverse is lazy writing. It's like, I don't know if you're writing good, it's not, but this is a good example of lazy writing.
Yeah.
But my idea is like, well, how everything is like woke that we argue about in Star Wars, if not just bad writing. It's like, what if actually everyone's like on our side's hating Filoni, and it turns out he's setting up a new galaxy of Star Wars where it's like, hey, actually this galaxy that we're going to is no stupid Disney crap. This is a reset for Star Wars where it's like, oh, everything happened in this world, but now we're in a new galaxy where like lightsabers only kill people. There's no wounding. When you stab someone, you're dead.
Or it's like if you cut off a limb, that hurts. You can live for like getting a limb cut off, but like it hurts and you're gonna be changed for that. You don't just glue it back on or something and you're good. I don't know. I can imagine they do that in this if they're going to.
It's like if they at least did something like Predator 2 when he gets his arm cut off and then he has to like go through the pain of regrowing his limb with his medicine.
No, exactly.
If they did something like that where it's like, oh god, I have a hole through my body. It burns.
In Dragon Ball,
they're growing back.
In Dragon Ball, the Piccolo species, the Namekians, they
grow their shit back.
They can grow their shit back, but that takes their energy. So like if they got their arm cut off, they can regrow it. But now their overall power is going to be down. They're not going to be as strong as they were with it. So it's like, that's a constant. It's a, give and take sort of a thing, which I think is good. Like, yeah, the only way you can survive your thing is by giving up something that, that's how interesting writing works. I mean, I feel like, Jamie Lannister, he could have been the, two-handed, best duelist in the whole realm the whole time, but he's only that way for barely season 1, and then he loses his hand and he's got to learn how to fight with his other hand. So that was a good type of balance in a way, consequence too. And
it really balances his power level.
It makes him it makes him almost a more respectable warrior for us that are watching to see it. We can get behind him.
Right, because he was talent without the work.
Yeah, and now he's got to really work to become talented with it, and he has no choice. Like that.
Yeah, now he has to like settle for like more of a leadership role versus a combatant role.
He can't just be the warrior that goes in and fights. He's got to be smart about how he fights too, in general. Like so that was a good change. That was a great example of like a consequence to his injury. Even in some small, I was gonna say brand for some reason, but it's like no, he's crippled. But the point is, like, yeah, that affected them the whole time. The way how fast they travel, how many people are around him, the way people perceive them when they come across them.
The fact they never put Bran on a dragon pisses me off.
Yeah, that should have been a thing. But yeah, I don't know. It's like injuries having some type of effect are good. Even just the smallest of ways. And I hate it when people always try to go to things that have happened in Star Wars before to go, this is happening, so blah blah blah. And it's like, well, you know what? If we want to critique the OT and the prequels and stuff, then we should. Then we will. Okay, sure. Let's do that. Everybody always does the kick from Return of the Jedi when he's fighting. It's like, yeah, that's
just a stunt. It's just a bad camera angle for a stunt.
They had a bad camera angle for the stunt thing, and it was cut there. Yes, that is silly. Nobody's going, that's perfectly cool. It's just like, yeah, that was a mistake.
Well, we understand it's implied that he actually kicked him, but we know in reality you're not supposed to actually kick people making a movie, so it's a stunt.
Exactly, yeah. And so and that's different than the lightsaber disappearing in TLJ that is
or the spin in Boba Fett for no reason.
Yeah, it's these are different things. This was a technical flub that just happened to get through, as to where this was these were the intentional decisions to have happen in the scenes that they decided to do, which is just okay, especially again now when it's many years later and you have context, you have better technology, whatever, you can't just go, what happened there, so it's okay if it happens here. No, I'm not one that accepts that kind of bullshit. You gotta I expect improvements.
That cannot be tolerated.
I expect improvements at best. I don't as I film things, I don't want to be doing anything worse than my Rookie's Quest stuff. I got to be better than all that. I can't be, I'm going to be worse now with stuff. Yeah, even more obvious flaws and errors or something. Improve. You learn from those stuff. You understand it better.
I know what I was going to pull up. So anyway. One of the things. Let me share this. All right, so let me mute it so we're not getting copyright. So this is, I think, conceptually really hammers home a problem with Ahsoka. And I don't know if they have the Ahsoka credit crawl for the first episode, but we will read it if not. All right, so this is episode 2. We just watched this. All right, so it's Star Wars episode 2. You got to imagine, as a narrator, you got to read on pace for the audience to digest it. So Attack of the Clones. There is unrest in the Galactic Senate. Several thousand solar systems have declared their intentions to leave the Republic.
That's a good amount of
separatist movement under the leadership of the mysterious Count Dooku has made it difficult for the limited number of Jedi Knights to maintain peace and order in the galaxy.
It's a lot of important information that is digestible.
But it's well timed. Senator Amidala, the former Queen of Naboo, is returning to the Galactic Senate to vote on the critical issue of creating an army of the Republic to assist the overwhelmed Jedi. ... And that's it. And it's well paced. On top of the cool music that you would see, but it's well paced. You have truncated. Here's a thought.
Yeah,
let's expand.
It's good, and there's the music that flows well with it.
So it's 3 simple sentences that are not complex at all. All right, now let's see if we can find.
The information was also useful. That would sound maybe clunky in the dialogue. So the information there was used. Good.
All right. Holy shit. Okay, here we go. All right, and in contrast, we will show this. And this was a joke on accident we made together when I was reading it in a certain tone. I'm just trying to read it as comedically villainous. Yep, Star Wars. All right, here is the opening crawl.
The person who recorded it left their mouse on the center.
The evil Galactic Empire has fallen and a new republic has risen to take its place. However, sinister agents are already at work to undermine the fragile peace. A plot is underway to find the lost Imperial Grand Admiral Thrawn and bring him out of exile. Once presumed dead, rumors are spreading of Thrawn's return, which would galvanize the Imperial remnants and start another war. Former Jedi Knight Ahsoka Tano captured one of Thrawn's allies and learned of a secret map which is vital to the enemy's plan. Ahsoka now searches for the map as her prisoner, Morgan Elsbeth, is transported to the New Republic for trial. It's like, you don't quite notice it. Maybe I'm already kind of prepared to like read faster, but my cadence is a little bit faster trying to keep up with this. And it's like way more context I'm trying to wrap my head around. And it's just paced so quick. Like,
well, I guess I feel
there's
like
little things like this that show the problem of Disney having Star Wars, where it's like, all right, you have like a template you're going off of. It's not bad, and you've like, displayed it in a different way. It's more sinister with the red. So we're already getting out of a tone. You mentioned Thrawn, he's bold, so we get new. All right, so it's like Evil Galactic Empire, New Republic, Grand Admiral Thrawn, Imperial Remnants, Ahsoka Tano, Morgan Elsbeth. I like to say it as if I am Ron Burgundy.
Yes.
Because like it's Morgan Elsbeth, but it's like Elsbeth sounds stupid. So Morgan Elsbeth, I think, is just funny.
Another thing too about the crawl is that the normal crawl is at a tilted angle, so that even if it goes a little bit further away, you can still kind of make it out. This just cuts off the screen as it goes up.
Oh, you didn't read it? Fuck you.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, fuck you, bro. Like, okay, I was reading that. Thank you. Whatever. Morgan Elsbeth, though. Back with
dude.
action.
Oh my god.
Well, and honestly,
Dooku killed all the Night Sisters.
Well,
Quit with this stupid ass. I get that, conceptually. Well, maybe there's a Night Sister that was shopping when Dooku killed everyone, or whatever.
They make all genocide seem stupid and insignificant because it's like, oh no, there's a whole bunch that survived though.
Yeah, it's like sometimes everyone dies. You do, like, just make new crap. Why are you limiting? Again, Star Wars is stuck on the original trilogy and everything kind of centering, going back. Even if they're doing like, well, let's make Clone Wars stuff, expand. It's like really just going back. They're only. Well, this is a problem, people talking about nostalgia and stuff. Nostalgia isn't bad. It's just a thing to utilize. But when I think you see the proof in the pudding that everything they're building is just retroactive. They're either trying to reconceptualize things that they're fixing instead of just leaving it as it is for the quality or lack thereof it had. Letting it be its own thing. They got to retroactively infer things or try to
well, and speaking
reboot or whatever. And what's the value? What's the progression of Star Wars? Where are we going? Oh, we're going to do Rey Skywalker. And it's like, but she just like decimated the ultimate evil of, it's like, what's next?
We gotta see her in like the galactic taxing,
and everything that we learned was just like, oh, well, what is the legacy that justifies her being this person? And so for 2 movies, we're like, is she a Palpatine? Is she a Kenobi? Is she a Skywalker? Is she a Solo? Is she someone that was minor that we forgot about? Is Snoke?
So
is he Mace Windu? Is he this?
So
is
uninteresting.
He that?
We're figuring out who they're related to.
Well, no, it's cool because Luke Skywalker, especially with the prequels, you learn Luke Skywalker has a legacy, and then that legacy of what he thought was a dead father is actually, oh no, your father metaphorically killed himself, but he is still here. And
I get
evil.
it. No, I get it. But that's not what made Luke interesting alone. Like there was still traits beyond that made him interesting before that moment. So
right, but it's always cool to be like, oh yeah,
I know it's cool, but I'm saying she has no traits that are interesting other than her only interesting trait would be who is related to her. That's the only thing that she had going for her.
Yeah, well, she did have a nice little white girl bubble butt, so that was interesting.
Yeah, a little bit. But no, speaking of like redoing stuff, so I was listening to a review before we did this a little bit, and the Night's Watch guys were saying like, around this time, in these types of things, in the Senate people and whatever, this is where like Luke and Leia and Han would be doing something, right? If there's something this much on the verge to reemerge, wouldn't they be kind of the heads trying to deal with it, or delineate, or deviating it out to these guys instead of just Ahsoka and them being the ones that are just Leia, Luke, nope, they don't know nothing. We're totally disconnected entirely. Wouldn't Luke have met Ahsoka like at this point then, like at all, if she's working with the Republic? This makes a lot less sense the more he is thought with it, right?
Shut up, misogynist!
Like,
you hate women.
No, they need to have Hera have more screen time with her booty and more clothes that make that come out. And Ahsoka needs to stop being dressed in fucking fully clothed garb here.
It's really weird that she went from a child in a incel virgin order of the Jedi with being jailbait for everybody, and then maturing into being like a prude essentially with her clothing. It's very strange.
Yeah, and I mean, again, that would at least be something to look at.
It was so weird, dude. They finally did a Black Series of Ayla Secura, the Twi'lek that dies on Felucia. She's a Jedi with walking around in a leather bra. The Twi'leks are inherently like kind of sexually free in their expression. A lot of them become hookers, if not slaves.
That's why they're often known as brothel folk, essentially.
Yeah.
You've heard of the tree folk, but these are the brothel folk.
So it's just, again, this is the problem of like feminist ideology. I don't like harping on this stuff because it sounds instantly cringy when you're like, I'm trying to talk about Star Wars and you're talking about feminism, politics in the real world. I'm like, well, like this is the problem when you limit. It's like I was talking. I did a video about Magneto and this idea of, are they going to cast like Gus Fring from Breaking Bad as Magneto, make him black, or make him half black, half Jewish, whatever the case. And it's like, you can make Magneto be a Jew without having him survive Auschwitz. You can still have him survive trauma. But unfortunately, Marvel, with like their inability to be even-handed, it's like pretty much after World War II, all the conflicts that you could write a newer version of Magneto surviving trauma, it would almost exclusively be Islamic terrorism or wars from Islamic people terrorizing Israel. I remember until, 2005, all the time I was seeing on the news car bombings and stuff, suicide bombers that, Islamic terror, Hamas or whatever the case, attacking Israel and killing all these civilians, blowing up buses and stuff. You could have Magneto be modern day Israeli, like our age, and be a child of like, my family was blew up in a suicide vest. But then you would have to vilify at least one Islamic guy, and they're not going to do that.
You could have him be black, and he got shot up.
Yeah, it's like they're not willing to actually be real works. Like, whoa, oh man, we can't do that. That would be racist or something, or Islamophobic or something.
But here's the reference to Trump now.
Yeah, I can't remember what show you watched, but it's like, wait, everyone's complaining this is woke, but it's like the bad person is a woman. You should love this.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was. Something recent I watched.
Yeah, I don't know.
But Travis Mitchell is joining the chat. He asks, hope everyone is well. Do you think this is really Anakin, a past version of him, or a dark side vision?
I don't care.
You can make Magneto be a Jew is a t-shirt. Well, yeah.
It sounds like it could be a song.
It's like, wait, he wasn't this whole time? Yeah, no, it's like Magneto's a really good character because, like, trying to be YouTube safe. There is a certain class of people, brackets, that you can't really be critical of legitimately for like legitimate questions without being anti-brackets. So
yeah.
But like Magneto is like such a good character because it's like I totally get him and it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like he's a minority shield because he's a villain, you know, but he's a villain you respect because it's like, I get it, dude. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
Especially with the first class inclusion, where it's like, oh yeah, they like slaughtered my mom in front of me to try to tease out my power. So it's like my power, I can never like really separate my power
From the
from
trauma.
the
Yeah.
image of my mother dying in front of me.
Yeah.
And so whatever goodies he gets out of it, he's always got to have that in the back of his head. That sucks, you know. It'd be like if Anakin won the pod race, but to do so he had to like blast through his mother like A Train. Like, wow, I love your pilot skills, Anakin. Where'd you learn it? How did you become so good? And he just sees his mother
I don't like to talk about
with
that.
like the plasma beam.
I'm a Gary Stu, don't you see?
I was just written that way.
But behind your head, speaking of, it's just funny when you said that, like, not the owl, but the thing with the moon or whatever, with it. From this angle, just for the second, I thought that was Squidward. Like it from this end, it looks like, you know, it's big head, little mouth, and whatever.
Oh,
and
okay.
It looked like
yeah.
Squidward for the angle, and then it's like, I was like, oh, that's obviously not him, but like it. This is funny. I was like, I didn't know you had a Squidward black and white.
Oh my god, I love this idea, Travis Mitchell. He says, I'd love a full episode of Anakin and Ahsoka looking through moments in his life, having turned up to his life and regrets as Vader. I think it'd be great if it was just like, kind of like how The Flash had all these different multiverses, and they were just like scenes of characters through the iterations of Marvel. I'd love if, like, you know, just walking through memory lane, and here's like a screen. It's like, ha! Oh man, I remember this happening to Moose for like, God, it still stings. Old Obi-Wan and his, you know, 4 and 4.
What a ripper!
Jedi.
What a ripper that one! And then our second fight when I threw his face in the fire. Oh. And I chased him.
Good.
I chased him across the galaxy, and I said,
"Or no, because he's still Anakin, so this
me?
hasn't happened yet. But he's looking at future events.
Yeah,
and he's like, oh man, my wife dies. What? And he's like trying to like hit the remote, change the channel. Like this
bitch said, right? In my anger, I killed her. I barely choked her, and she was fine. Like,
I did not hit her.
I did not choke her. It is not true.
Pretty sure Qui-Gon blasted Anakin's mother's A Train the night before the race. Not worth it. Like Shmi is like, okay, it's his mom, but it's not like MILF.
Yeah, not quite.
You could do better, Qui-Gon. He says, it's asking too much, but what if Ahsoka has to pull Mace Windu out of his death in episode 3? Ooh, that's actually interesting. That's interesting. Like, don't do it, but interesting.
People already are on the assumption that he survived getting tossed out of the window.
Yeah, we just watched episode 3, and it's like, oh yeah, he totally survived.
Yeah, he got fried alive.
Well, I mean, if he falls on the Force like Ahsoka just did.
Oh yeah, if he got ass pulled, saved. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Dexter gesture must have caught him. I got you, bro. You know, I that must have been the case. No, I'm sorry.
No, that's where you gotta go. That guy's voice.
It'd just be another one of those things of like, I guess Mace Windu survived, but has nothing really interesting to say or do, and goes extremely into your thing of them not knowing how the fuck to progress forward and just sticking in the past and sticking around here and not able to move on. Yeah.
You could have, I guess, a future plot where it's like, what would you do? Like, for me, instantly my idea is making Mace Windu kind of deranged and just a force of destruction, because why not? Because everything that he's believed in has only led to the slaughter of his whole life's work. So I think that would make you very jaded. I think that'd make you kind of a Magneto. And so it's like you could start telling stories like kind of like Last of Us, where they're like, sometimes the revolutionaries are worse than the tyranny that's already in place.
Or like, you know, he like the chosen one that he was against from the first place ended up betraying him in the last.
You gonna let this cracker in the Jedi?
It's like, yeah, he's like, you know, I put all of my, and then, you know, I was against it, and then I finally trusted him, and then he fucking betrays me. Like, the 1 second I trust him, he fucks me over.
Yeah, well, it's like, it's kind of, you go either like my idea, or it's like, oh man, I gotta try, like, he's gotta try to redeem Anakin, because it's like, you know, all of his little jabs and his influence to minimize his role in the council and whatnot. These are all these like slights that like made Anakin not fully invest. You know, it's like he just embraced him and took him under his wing, along with, you know, his masters and stuff. What could have been, you know, it's like I was always against him. You know, they're talking about him when on the ship, and he's like, I don't trust him. And it's like, this kid's been, how many feats has this guy done for like over like 15 years as a Jedi Padawan and knight now?
Well, yeah, but I mean, Anakin also wasn't very good at accepting any actual praise he's given either. Like when he says you're on his council, but you're not a master. He's like, what? Like, I can understand that it's like less than a thing, but it's all, you could also see it as like, you know, wow, this is an honor that's never happened before. Like somebody as young as me is on the council and, you know, like could be a master soon, whatever. But, you know, apparently he wasn't.
No, it's very
Ahsoka,
clear.
You know.
Like, I actually buy it. I buy hook, line, and sinker the slight of Anakin.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that that doesn't make any sense or whatever. I'm saying like he could have seen it as, he never saw it himself from his perspective as whenever he's given anything, like he never seemed to see it as a positive.
Travis Mitchell has some good content here. He says there's also potential in the fact that both Ahsoka and Bo were on the same side, and both were monumentally screwed over by Mace having to forgive him. Could be interesting. Yeah, dude. So I'm a Boba Fett show fan for like the first like the Tusken episodes. Almost completely. Yeah, the dance is cringe. The LSD lizard, those are stupid. But the idea of like, hey, whether it's woke or not, to try to like paint them as they're indigenous, and so we've only painted them through this white man's lens of bad. It's like, well, I don't know, they're fucking rapists and murderers. So what we've seen, they only like harass and assault, you know, colonizers, but it's like if you're a colonizer, you're a poor guy trying to like make a homestead. So, you know, it's probably government sanctioned, especially if you learn about like U.S. history and homesteading. Whatever injustice the Indians got because of homesteading, the average citizen trying to homestead is not a like evil colonizer. They're just trying to like stake a claim for 160 acres and make it work, and then get like a payout from the government to like further their legacy, you know, enrich their family. Anyway, that template. I like the idea of showing a complexity of the Tuskens, that some are like violent murders out of maybe their treatment, and this is their philosophy now, preemptive attacks, versus like the more peaceful tribes that try to like be more reasonable, and you know they clearly there's a cultural difference.
They try to enslave people in the desert and beat them up and make them.
Well, I don't think slavery is good or bad. I think it's a thing.
Yeah, but I don't know if I'd call them more peaceful for that.
I would say enslaving you versus murdering you is a lot more peaceful.
I mean, Shmi would probably disagree, though.
Shmi was a sex slave. There's a difference.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, there seems to be a lot of degrees to all.
There's a degrees of ethics. Just read the Bible in the Old Testament, where it's like, all right, you can have slaves, but there's like a whole litany of rules that you can't do that, can't do that. If you injure a slave, you owe the guy recompense. You can't just like, yeah, they're second class. They're not people necessarily, but like there's still some sort of metaphysical dignity that I will like curse you for if you're like cruel unnecessarily to your slave. So like, yeah, there's degrees of slavery ethics, if you will. People try to conceptualize slavery as it's just bad, and it's like it's the way of life. Historically, time immemorial, we've only now enlightened ourselves, or I would say become so affluent we don't need slaves. This is why we can think of it in such ill terms, because we don't need it. And so we can think of it as like a passive, archaic thing. But, you know, you get hungry enough, things get more desperate, you might start seeing the value of slavery. I'm just saying it's a matter of perspective.
I'm just saying I don't think that they're as peaceful either, though. Their approach doesn't start with "we are peaceful." The approach starts with "you are my slave," not you know, they don't seem to be ready to greet anybody with anything.
Regardless, I really like the idea of all right, there's only like 10 minutes of screen time for Boba Fett in the films. we have a pretty much clean slate to showcase he survived the Sarlacc pit, and this affects him. And so he has a totally new direction to embrace, potentially, instead of just doing the same old. Everyone complains about Han Solo just doing the same thing 30 years later, being a smuggler again, and resorting to all these like kind of more childish ways of his bachelor self. And yet they try to do something ambitious with Boba Fett. Like, sure, the show overall sucks, but like that, people crap on. So it's just like, this is why this is one problem with Star Wars is the fans, because it's like, what do we give them? Because when we just do the same crap that they say they like it, then they complain that we didn't do anything daring. Then we do something more daring. They hate that. And again, maybe it's better just to do new shit with this universe. But if you want to dig into stuff, I'd rather go the Boba Fett route and try new things, however good or bad they are. Regardless, I really like the idea of the clean slate, and I just think they should have really carried it through. That like the Tuskens should have been like a deciding factor in the battle. But the idea of they really should have leaned into, at some point, Boba Fett's going to cross paths with Luke Skywalker again, the guy that kind of got him stuck in the Sarlacc pit. And so
he doesn't want to leave Tatooine, apparently. So
yeah, I think there should have been, like, because of the connection to Mandalorian, there should have been some cross of Boba Fett and Luke, and some ill will among allies for task, and he would have this like very singular perspective of the Jedi, and then Luke might remember him in passing, or say something, and then Han is like, "Oh yeah, that guy," blah blah blah.
I accidentally hit him when I was blind, and
yeah. So if you bring Mace Windu into the mix, you can maybe not have it be Luke, but have Mace Windu, where it's like all this kid thinks about this guy is, this is the death of my father. You've like wrecked my life, you and your order, because of your meddlings in the universe. This is why the universe is at the state it is, on top of my dad being dead.
You're a peacekeeper who decapitated
my father's. I'm the last of my father's legacy. He made a great clone army that helped ensnare the galaxy under the control of the becoming empire, and yet I get no recompense. My father has no legacy from it because they, essentially nixed all the clones. There's a lot of baggage mentally of like ill will.
You're such a peacekeeper that you decapitated my father. Thank you.
Yes, you can keep this piece of your father here and the other piece there. And
yeah, see, I still in that case that just seems to be a that'd be a side story thing that's just a whatever that isn't.
Yeah, you could definitely lean into the kind of Clint Eastwood, gunslinger.
It feels like it would be a filler between like a movie but they don't do movies anymore.
Dude, watching the Clint Eastwood trilogy, the Dollars trilogy, getting more context for like what the archetype of Boba Fett's supposed to be, and then you see like Cad Bane come back in the picture, and they should have been the Colonel and what, Angel Face or whatever they named him, the man with no name. They should have had like some sort of dueling rivalry. So it's sad. But I really liked for the level we're at, this episode was awesome. Of like, my expectation with this whole women stuff is that they're going to have all the women besides maybe the Night Sister be good and allies, and really it's Balon's bad because he's a man, and maybe they'll vilify the Night Sister as well, but it really will indict maybe Count Dooku or something, where it's like, well, she's only bad because the slaughter of Count Dooku on the Night Sisters, and so she is kind of absolved of any sin, because ultimately it's a woman. They're not willing to like just make women bad. I'm expecting that, and then when they actually have Sabine at least temporarily buy into becoming a possible second apprentice with Shingard for Balon, all in service of Morgan Elsbeth. These are bad names. You
That
don't
sounds
make
like
that's
such a parody name. Like that's what my parody Star Wars Sith would be. Morgan Elsbeth.
Yeah, it's like, let's play D&D, but we're all Jedi. This is all Star Wars. And so I am the Night Sister, Morgan Elsbeth, come to bring doom upon the galaxy with Thrawn. And it's like, ooh, spooky. Like, it's like tongue in cheek. And it's like, no. This is like, they're really playing. This is not a joke. It's like, oh. So, yeah, like Star Wars, you don't want to have easily just, oh, that's a earthly name that is, you could find somewhat commonly in the English-speaking world. You should have this. It's hard. You gotta like play with foreign names.
Anakin, those are good ones. You know,
you gotta play with foreign names. You gotta like truncate certain words where it's like, actually, this is the root from like this normal word, but we've like cut it out. Riva is like fine. Ahsoka, of course, is cool. Ahsoka goes back to. Ahsoka goes back to, I think, like Indian, like Hindu or something.
Yeah.
So it's like a very old word.
Some of these are better than Savage.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's like, oh, that's interesting. Anakin Skywalker. It's like Skywalker sounds kind of Indian, like an English adaptation of an Indian name. Oh, he's the Skywalker. He's the one that, does shaman shit with the stars or something. It's like, it's interesting. It already
Skywalker along with runs with water. Yes.
Yeah, but Shin, it's like Shin is like, I wear guards on my shin if I play soccer, so that's a really dumb name to name someone.
I think Shin does that mean? I think in like Japan, that's like somewhat on the godly playing field or something. I think that's in Japan.
Oh, cool. Travis Mitchell says, if Mason did come back, I see it happening more later in that Mando movie. Him being used as an experiment to pull midichlorians from Ahsoka and Boba, having to set aside their hate to rescue him.
I don't think they'd give a fuck about him.
Honestly, I think Star Wars is too cowardly at Lucasfilm today to actually play with midichlorians, try to expand on whatever Lucas was.
They'll do more retarded world between worlds stuff, but
yeah. Right, these people that say, the people that are like 10, 20 years ago, they're the ones that like essentially made Lucas hate his life's work in Star Wars to the point of selling it to the white slavers, as he calls them. These are the same people that are like, oh my God, they cry about midichlorians. You've ruined you've raped my childhood, George Lucas. You just think people are like, world between worlds. It's frustrating being like, I am a true born prequel lover. It's never been a fake fandom. It's never been faltering. I have been consistent. These are my Star Wars. This is why I like Star Wars. If it was the original trilogy, I'd be like, those are good movies. It'd be like Back to the Future, Indiana Jones. Like, those are good. But like, okay, I'm moving on. I'd be seeking, it's like Game of Thrones would be my thing then. But no, Game of Thrones takes a back seat to Star Wars, because Star Wars is eternal. And it's a great world that has like, it ultimates good and evil, but it has enough intricacy and just interesting like applications from the real world and storytelling, history, etc., politics. But yeah, these idiots, the same ones are trying to pander to now and pretend that they're fans of this thing, and like, they have to know how stupid it is. If they just admitted it's stupid, like, I don't care, I like it, that would be fine. But no, it's people like are diehard defenders of stupid shit, because not liking a thing that they like is an attack on their identity, And to a degree, I can understand that, where it's like, if you're like, Avatar sucks because blah, blah, like, what? Like, yeah, I'm a bit offended. I'm like, how do you not see the beauty of this thing? But I'm coming from it from like, not just it looks pretty. It's like there's a real value to it to me. So, I don't know. There's just like such surface level fandom today. I really hate casuals. I love that microscopic force movie George talking about. osmosis genes. Midichlorians are merely genes that make certain people more easily attuned to the Force, but everyone has it. Yeah, I don't see the problem. He's like conceptualizing this just voodoo of the world.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like Sabine. They have it where she doesn't really have good Force stuff. I mean, that could be interesting, but they're not going to do anything interesting with it, really. Could be interesting to see how she tries to get a hold of it, but I don't know. I feel like I've said enough.
I feel dead inside. Yeah. Wait, hold on. Before we go, let's tune in for a few minutes and see what is being talked about with the Star Wars theory. What is his thoughts on Morgan Elsbeth? Let me. Here we go. Let me try to find my tab. There we go. Share screen. All right. Let's see what's talked about with Star Wars theory.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Ahsoka Episode 4 Breakdown. This is by far the best Star Wars episode of anything that we've had since George Lucas sold Star Wars. In my opinion, I think with the right director, writing, vision, and Star Wars understanding, we can finally start to get Star Wars as it was meant to be. Now, I think the lightsaber fights in this were fantastic. However, they were not nearly as great as what Nick Gillard could have created had he worked on this project. I think they would have been much more fluid. And, well, we can get into the nitty-gritties, but let's first get right into the breakdown.
God, Morgan Elsbeth. I hate your face. It's just like, she looks like a sniveling twat, like, what am I thinking? It must be evil.
She'd be the worm tongue of the Star Wars world.
Worm tongue is like, I'm talking about a very black and white world. He's probably one of the most gray characters that's sympathetic. You know, it's like he has nuance. This feels like mustache twirling in a world that's trying to be nuanced and varied and gray. She feels just her look, her face. It just irritates me because it does. I don't feel like, oh God, she's this mastermind right now. At least a lackey to Thrawn or whatever, commune with him. Her face just conveys like kind of silly, and there's no like, it never seems like her face changes in emotional like outlets. I don't know, it's my own little nitpick. It just irritates me looking at her. Continuing.
Oh, sit back, relax, let's begin. As we start the episode, Ahsoka and Sabine discuss their game plan as Huyang fixes the ship. Ahsoka is facing a very difficult choice. She realizes if they can't get the map, then it must be destroyed, meaning no one will ever find Ezra, but also...
no, I would really hate if an Ezra never came back in this shit. That would be horrible.
Yeah, I totally glazed over that dialogue because the way it was delivered was
the whole thing is like, we got to destroy the map if we can't get it.
It was delivered the same as every other line, so I didn't notice there's any type of urgency to that. Like, if we, Sabine, I know that you're friends with him, but if we can't get the map, then we've got to destroy it. Like something like that to deliver it in a way that sounds like
there's a 1% chance we take it as an absolute certainty.
Yes, give me Ahsoka Fleck.
Please, someone meme Ben Affleck's face on Ahsoka.
Or Ahsoka on Ben Affleck's face.
No. I like my version better. All right. Anything else?
No.
All right. I'm just making sure that way I'm not like.
No, you're good.
Go rolling past you. Here we go.
It means no one will ever find Thrawn, and perhaps the galaxy will be safe. Sabine thinks Ahsoka is too callous to be doing something like this to their friend. However, Ahsoka is all about
when
the
did she think
good,
that?
What?
So when did she think that?
Sabine thinks Ahsoka is too callous to be doing something like this to their friend. However,
when was that expressed?
Well, because like they are at odds philosophically about the problem. I think that's been clear. They're also the show, unfortunately, like I said at the beginning, is trying to pull on 4 seasons of a cartoon that almost no one's going to watch to like get the. You're not reconceptualizing this cliff notes for the audience. Like this is where exposition would be very good, even if it's like straight to the audience. Hey, this is what you missed. That would be really good.
Not even that alone, though. I mean, the expressions on their face and their like clear motivations and like that would help the most with these specific.
I would
things.
prefer
like,
over the top anime, like Attack on Titan. There's a lot of like build up of like realization and stuff where he's like, I am Armin and I will do this thing and I salute to the people and I defend my friend. And it's like, dude, we're in class. Like,
oh yeah,
it's not even in combat or impending combat. They're like training or they're doing paperwork or something, and they're like, ah! It's like it's over the top. It's
no, they
that.
do excellent at making like here's a man with an office job, and it's like this super like stressful character driven thing going on, and you know he's got the right pens. Oh, it's out of
Office Space as
like,
an anime. I would love that. It's like about
they have
the
things like
of domestication.
Angus, they have things like that in anime. They do like that are if not a full show, they have characters that do that essentially. That
sounds up my alley because it's just. But you only get this from a reserve. Like people wonder, like, well, why can't we do it? It's like Americans are loud. You know, just the typical, even the quiet American, you go to another country, like we just stand out, we're loud, we got this attitude about us and inherently. Japanese people, the Asiatic people in general, they're very reserved. They don't make eye contact frequently. They're docile, tempered people. And so this is why it's like AC/DC. You know, you watch AC/DC and it's fucking 3-4 hours of Angus headbanging. And then like you see in an interview, he's got like a cup of tea, might smoke a cigarette and he's just calm as fuck. Because he gets all his wiggles out through his music, and then he's just all right. I have an outlet, so I don't need to like be rock and roll 24/7. I am rock and roll. That's the Japanese people. Is like they are so reserved. This is why they have such crazy tentacle porn and bombastic anime because it's an outlet.
Yeah.
But yeah, they really could pull from. They should talk to the Star Wars anime people that they just had for Visions and be like, all right, how do I like.
Well, it's just like they had Clone Wars. They had they had expressive characters.
They had Padme. You know, it's like,
and even in the current stuff,
she's breaking down. It's like, oh,
even
poor Padme. I just want to hug you.
Even without all that stuff, they have droids that have more personality than any of the fucking people. It's insane.
Yeah. Continuing.
Ahsoka is all about the greater good, and so she'll put the galaxy's fate with Thrawn into a reality without him and Ezra. If that means that the people are
based on what?
She's about to what?
He said she's about the greater good. I haven't gotten that from her character at all.
This is another thing I hate is like, all right, she stepped away from Jedi Order and they've made her like this not Jedi, but then she's there, we assume as a Force ghost. That's what they've alluded to in Rise of Skywalker. She's one of the voices to Rey of like, I am all the Jedi. And so it's like, all right, there's an end cap to this character. But with this World Between Worlds, repeatedly now, we have no idea if like actually she's dead or if she's just pieced out and she's outside of time and space when she's like projecting to help Rey. Also, at the World Between Worlds, you can just like pop out of different areas. And why is there ever evil? This makes her and anyone able to do World Between Worlds fucking evil now. Because like, why couldn't you just like pop through and like, you know, don't do baby Thanos where it's like, well, just go back in time and kill baby Thanos. Like, whoa, that crosses the line. We're the bad guys. But you go to like the first time they do bad, and then you have the justification to kill them because what they will spawn later. You know, it's like, why wouldn't you just go back in time and kill Palpatine after he accepts the apprenticeship of Plagueis, thus undoing all of Star Wars catastrophes? And you clean slate for new problems in the same timeline or an alternate timeline. Again, I don't know why they would want to add fucking comic templates to Star Wars, where it's like the whole point is like the ebb and flow of good and evil taking power and fighting each other and seeing the struggle or the tragic falling and understandable fall of a good guy to embrace the dark side and, unfortunately create havoc. This is the formula of Star Wars, is the up and down of the light and dark in their constant battle for supremacy and the collateral damage in between, the scars each side takes. And when you start adding timelines and crap, you've diminished, not only are you diluting Star Wars with like middling at best shows, but now you're diluting like the conceptual value of the fights for each era. Because it's like, why didn't anyone before use the World Between Worlds? I hate this.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
No, more I learn about it and more I start thinking, I'm like, God, those EU weirdos are right. And I hate agreeing with EU weirdos.
Safe because she knows how manipulative and powerful and cunning Thrawn can be. As the HK assassin droids come for Sabine, they fight Hu Yang, and we can see how he stacks up against these very proficient assassin droids.
I also thought that fight was really stupid. I don't know, the droids are just punching each other, and I don't know, that just looked like a very generic fight with a droid. It's just like, okay, like nothing really.
Yeah, this is
nothing really interesting happened with it. I don't know. It just was.
This is a droid that's trained with a Jedi, so I mean, I guess that's your loophole. Say you can do combatives, but I like to think of droids as like kind of limited sentient beings. They're people that are tools, and so there's like this weird kind of slave state of the droid that they're not even necessarily, they've never conceptualized, and they have limited range physically, unless they're actually programmed like the HK assassin. I just think it's stupid to have this droid be able to even go toe-to-toe at all with an assassin droid whose whole programming is death.
Yeah, well, I agree with that, but then it's also like they showed them try to punch each other. They're droids.
They're assassin droids.
They're droids, and they're trying to punch each other. What?
This reminds me of the toy thing you talk about with kids, where you get irritated with like kids that all they know how to do is like smash toys together. And it's like, I don't mind that, but like when you're talking about you are an adult and you are playing with the toy called Star Wars, and all you can think of is punch.
Well, say I would think that it'd be trying to, specifically grab pieces to disconnect or break the droid, essentially. Not, I'm gonna try to punch you in the face and whatnot.
Yeah, like a duel like this inherently speaks passion, getting to like physical blows or a lightsaber duel, whatever. There's a passion to it. And I'm talking about like a cold, lifeless, unfeeling assassin droid. I don't want him to have his passion fight. I want him to be trying to
he's trying to
unfeeling murder. I want him to be Michael Myers.
He's trying to take apart the target. That's it.
Yeah, really, that should be the template. Is like, how much can we pull of Michael Myers into these droids?
Instead of trying to muffle him so he can't scream, try to rip his head off. I don't know. Like that's what I'd be thinking, and not like, oh, what do you think that's a better idea? No, it's an assassin droid. Why is it trying to not kill him? Like
this is the problem. I think Stan Lee talked about well, how do you decide that Moira McTaggart can beat Thanos? And it's like, well, how could that ever be? And it's like, well, because that's what the writer wanted, so of course it's going to happen that way. It's like, but is it convincing how you write it? And this is the problem. It's like you can write, the fucking Ewoks defeating the Empire. It's not convincing how they did it. That's what irritates me.
Yeah.
Part of that's just, I guess, limitations in CGI and whatnot for stunts, but it's not convincing unless it contrasts with like a Wookiee, where it's like they were talking about ripping people's arms out and shit. It's like, oh wow, they're strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you can have this work to what your goal is, but it's like execution is really bad.
Yep.
Too bad at all. I was just hoping that he'd be getting his 4 arms out and using those lightsabers to defeat them. But instead, Ahsoka and Sabine come out, and in tandem with Mandalorian marksmanship and
Wait, what?
Does he think that he has lightsabers?
Too bad at all. I was just hoping that he'd be getting his 4 arms out and using those lightsabers to defeat them. but instead,
He at least has light sabers. He has flashlights.
He has glow sticks. He has glow sticks that
he does have light sabers.
They literally aren't weapons though. They were meant for slicing through. So I don't know if he missed that. Those aren't actual lightsabers. He just wants like a Grievous.
They are actual lightsabers.
Yeah, shut up. He wants
this
like
is gonna be a
Grievous
joke now.
fight,
Be like, well, just pull out your lightsaber, and you will defeat.
That honestly makes the dark saber seem even more retarded, though. Like, really looking at that, it emits darkness. You know, it emits a little like loopy light around that creates a dark thing. Just whatever, just go.
Ahsoka and Sabine come out, and in tandem with Mandalorian marksmanship and ex-Jedi lightsaber skills and powers of the Force, which was sick to see, they defeat their enemies. Balin tells...
Dude, when I hear him just shilling for this crap, I'm like, where was the guy, as cringe as it was, the context? I gave Pablo Hidalgo 6 hours, and now I'm putting him on blast. You laughed at me crying about Luke Skywalker. Like, where's that heat? And now all I see is, oh, Filoni!
I see any... These were assassin droids. I wouldn't have known that. The way they show them in the Clone Wars is like, they can be formidable to a fucking Jedi. Like,
yeah,
they could be a threat to you, and they could take apart clones and rip them in half. Like, they can do some pretty deadly shit, and that's you don't want to have a whole bunch of them to deal with. So
look
it's like,
look at my man Balon.
Yeah, or Chad here. Yeah,
he just exudes masculinity, and that's why he's going to be the bad guy.
Yes.
Jin and Marok to hold up Ahsoka and Sabine because they know the droids won't. Balin knows how powerful Ahsoka is, and his tone reflects that when he says they better get underway. I like Balin. I think he's very realistic.
Dude, it's Balon.
That sounds like a Lord of the Rings name, Balon.
Yeah, it does. That's why it's funny. I do love his like knight attire. It's really cool.
A lot of people are saying that this whole show seems to be trying to copy other like Lord of the Rings, like the spaceship thing.
Well, dude,
like,
when
like the Eye of Sion and stuff.
She reached out over the map like Saruman over the Palantir.
Yes,
and I was like, well, I noticed that. It's just not cool because it's Morgan Elsbeth.
They called the hyperspace thing the Eye of Sion. Like, bro, that's like such a... Come on. It's like the Osama. It's really close. It's really close.
The Eye of Sauron. Now, that'll be copyright. The Eye of Sion. He got it.
And he's not as foolhardy as most Sith might be. I think the fall of the Sith was really because they were all just so in love with their own ego and hubris. Hera leaves with Chopper and her son Jason Syndulla.
Who has, as far as we know, I mean, maybe he has like maybe the genitals of Twi'leks are strange, and that's like, you know, like
I thought you were saying he has Twi'lek genitals.
Like if that, it's like I would have no idea this is the spawn of Hera Syndulla. There's no
connection. At all.
It's like, oh, this is this human slept with a humanoid Twi'lek, and yet he just pops out 100% human.
She pops out a human. Like what?
And it's like,
and honestly,
that
actually brings up a good point in general, Angus. Like, there's no hybrid people, as far as I can tell, in the Star Wars galaxy, when there most definitely would be some crossbreed. That's for damn sure.
No, yeah, as much as people cry about Dong Lover and his lover L337, where it's not even like an obvious like sex bot or something like Rick and Morty, where it's like, oh, like, you know, if you had a science advance can make such convincing sex robots, you could, you know, convincingly have these kind of plots, or like Blade Runner 2049, where the android Ryan Gosling has a waifu hologram that he's trying to figure out how to make her real. You know, it's like, well, if you have a science advance, it's like not a stretch to think, Or if you how about a galaxy with all these humanoids that are similar? Yeah, someone's gonna start having sex with them, and then you have this whole like, well, is this bestiality conversation? Like, you know, so it makes sense that you could have interbreeding or attempts at it, but it's just very strange that you explicitly indicate and have the offspring of interspecial relations, and there's no, unless besides the name, there's no obvious trait that this is the spawn of an alien species from us.
No.
Bad.
Yeah, I thought that was an Ezra Miller. Fuck. An Ezra Bridger clone.
Yeah, it's like, why couldn't you just have like him have the Twi'lek like you and ears because he's a male and hair, where it's like, oh, I've never seen a Twi'lek with hair. This is strange.
Yeah, hopefully he'd look better than Scar at the end of She-Hulk, though.
Oh, yeah.
Who is half Jedi. The father was, of course, Kanan Jarrus, trained by Depa Billaba.
Kanan Jarrus. I don't even fucking. Of course, it's him. Like, I guess he's speaking from somebody who watches every single Star Wars thing. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. And why did Jason's hair turn green just because his skin is green? Wait, does it turn green?
I mean, don't remember if that happens.
Hold on. Where is come on. Is his hair green? Looks brown to me.
It doesn't look green, no.
Jason Syndulla, who is half Jedi. The father was, of course, Kanan Jarrus, trained by Depa Billaba, who was trained by...
Depa Billaba! It sounds like a weird Greek or Israeli dish. Would you like some balaba?
We'll play that again? What?
Hera leaves with Chopper and her son Jason Syndulla, who is half Jedi. The father was, of course, Kanan Jarrus, trained by Depa Billaba.
Depa Billaba.
Renowned Jedi Master Depa Billaba.
Did they have their children name the names for Star Wars characters at some point?
I don't care if you base it on an African. You got to think about how it sounds to English speakers. That's the main people you're selling to. So there's a range where it's like, oh, that's foreign spritz. That's different. We don't hear that kind of name.
This
but it's
sounds
not
like baby gibberish.
Like
it sounds like baby gibberish.
King, that could be a totally real name for a Chinese person. But if you're an English English-speaking company making English products for mainly English audience, you don't have these kind of meme names, even if it is a reality, like Xi Jinping. It's like, that sounds funny. Ping pong. Like, like at least like Kim Jong-un or Kim Jong-il, it's like, oh, it's foreign, it's Korean, but it doesn't sound like, ha ha ha, let me make a meme out of it, you know?
No, exactly. This
Deepa Billaba.
Sounds like gibberish from a baby, like, you know,
who was trained by Mace Windu. Jason has dreams of being a Jedi, just like little Anakin did.
He does?
When did I ever hear that?
I don't know. He's making some claims, I guess, that he wants to be a Jedi. Or if he said it in the last episodes, I guess he said it. Okay. I don't.
All right.
It'll be interesting to see his journey. Perhaps Ahsoka will train him, and we'll get a bit of a...
Oh, you mean she'll train when she's already reluctant to train a former apprentice?
It's just as interesting as Broom Boy, honestly. It's just, there's a... Yeah,
I can't refute your claims, but it was not clear at all. It's actually less clear than Broom Boy.
I have no idea what his interests are at all, because he's not in the character yet. I don't know what you're talking about, but all right.
Reverse God of War sort of story. Carson Teva escorts her out into space.
He has a name.
And it's nice to see.
He has a name. He's just the guy that is the cameo.
Yeah.
See him again from Mando and Andor. Seems like he's in every Star Wars show. As Balin awaits, Elsbeth...
that's
Nick
the
Fury.
scene! Morgan Elsbeth sears through the not Palantir.
That guy is the Nick Fury of Star Wars, the cameo guy. He's the
I'm assembling a
Next
team. A lot of good it'll do knowing the sequel trilogy. Idiot.
Night Sister magic to open the map so the coordinates are precise.
Night Sister
even
magic.
being
I didn't get that impression at all.
Yeah, I was telling you she's a Night Sister.
Well, I know, but he said Night Sister magic. I didn't get the impression she was using magic at all here.
Yeah, well, in the Clone Wars, it's very clear when Mother Talzin and company are using magic.
Yeah,
like Savage or Darth Maul, or on. I think they use poison on Dooku, but isn't it like from their magic that they poison them?
It was
in the
like
first place?
voodoo. Yeah, it was like voodoo. She had a whole cauldron and stuff.
Anchorman, together we can defeat voodoo.
But no, with this, like, I don't see how it was clear that she used magic to open this thing up. I don't.
I just assumed it was the Force because they indicated nothing different from Force use. Let me see. It's greenish. I don't think the hair is greenish. Gizmo.
Yeah.
just a little bit off, they could end up being stuck in the depths of a void without any way to come back. Ahsoka and Sabine travel through the forest until they are stopped by Marok and Shin-Hati. The fight ensues, and it's quick work mostly for Ahsoka as she cuts Marok in the abdomen. Now, he's not an apprentice of Vader. He's not
He clarifies
Starkiller.
where he was cut so that it's no confusion that he is dead, I think is what he was trying to say there. So I think he was fine with the Sabine stab. So
Idiot.
Yeah, the thing, I don't know. It's so he's just gonna glaze
also,
over.
Starkiller didn't like Vader save him. He like did the show of stabbing
he killed him,
I
guess.
Emperor.
He killed him, I guess, and then he like built him back together or something. I don't know.
Yeah, with Star Wars, it's like I don't know. Like in what do you call it? Within reason, it seems that you could with Star Wars sci-fi science in that world. It's not a stretch for me to be like, oh yeah, we revived this dead person. Like we have in the human world, we have the pads clear, to like restart your heart. So it's like you assume like Star Wars has like magic levels of prosthetics. The dexterity of the hands, we're nowhere close to trying to do like what Star Wars did with Luke Skywalker's hand. But we're trying to get to that level. We're in a rudimentary stages. We're getting better. Like the Alita girl. The girl got the Alita arm, and it's fairly ambidextrous, or fairly dexterous, but it's still limited. So like you're talking about reality versus Star Wars, like there's a threshold of believability. When I played, especially with Vader being tied to it, wasn't like a stretch of like, oh, he's still alive, or they revived him, or whatever. It's like, okay. It wasn't, but with Sabine, it's just like so casually, whatever. And I got stabbed. I'm in the hospital.
It's not even just that. It's like this other character, this masked character, was just a random guy who wielded a Jedi, I guess, and then got sliced and turned into dust. It's just so uneventful. It's just like I'm
wondering, are they trying to do like Sauron with the Necromancer? Are they trying to do something like that, where some of these Force users are like necromancers?
I don't know. It was just like a thing
especially being tied with the Night Sisters.
It was just kind of dumb, and now it's just dead, and so it's like, oh, I guess that's done. Whatever. Like, there's nobody. We're not gonna know anything else about it, so whatever. Guess that's over.
Hold on, let me look something up. Inquisitor. Revenge does wonders for the will to live, don't you think? I guess that's the angle. God. We'll see if he's back.
Or anything. He's just, he's not even really an organic being for the most part. He's undead, I think. He is created by the Night Sister. That green smoke dust that comes out of him, that's Night Sister magic. So he's maybe brought...
that he was created by her. Because that would have been neat. Well, that would have been
an illusion, a reasonable illusion given the content of Star Wars.
No. What I'm saying, it doesn't matter if that's reasonable within context, because within the context of the show, nothing is portrayed as if that's the case at all. Like there's nothing with her and interacting with him or anything that suggests that she was using any type of magic to have interacted with him at all or created him. It just seemed like he's a random dude.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't fly.
Back alive, kind of like how they enhanced Savage Opress or brought some of the undead back, which they were all enhanced with magic. We see this when Savage Opress dies at the hands of Palpatine, Darth Sidious in the Clone Wars.
Oh no, they're gonna bring back Savage Opress.
I hate Savage Opress's name. To be honest, it's just,
I don't mind
it's
Savage, even though it's spelled
yeah,
just
Savage
Savage.
alone is fine, but yeah, the Savage
Opress.
Opress is like such a I'm a nega evil character. I am hardcore evil, huh? Like he's not gonna be the good guy. He's just I am named evil and I am evil.
It should be like Randy Opress.
Yeah, or just not have Opress in the name at all.
Back to his original form, very skinny and meek. Ahsoka's movements are very samurai. She's very stable and focused, and I'm really enjoying.
Yeah, so like I wouldn't comment on that because it's like I assume all Jedi, unless there's an obvious,
I would assume that's the
like
base.
a knight. Like Balon is fighting like more knightly, more like heavy-handed with his blows, very like Vader-like. You know, there seems to be a trend with most of the Sith besides
swinging a sword.
Besides like the Inquisitors or Maul, where it's like, you know, there's like a real art to what they're doing, but usually it's like Kylo, Vader, they like to hack, you know, or like Dooku, where he's kind of, you know, a fencer because the baggage of Christopher Lee's B-movie roles.
Yep.
Seeing the character progression here for her. Ahsoka leaves to get the map as Sabine fights Shin. Now, remember Hu Yang said that they should stay together? Well, of course they didn't listen. Time is of the essence, but I think that Ahsoka could have easily just thrown Shin with the Force or something at a tree and they could have ran and got out of there. I don't know. As she walks to Balin, he taunts her and tells her that Anakin spoke highly of her, that everyone knew Anakin Skywalker.
I didn't think he was taunting. I thought he was just like, I mean, maybe he's preying on her emotions with what he's saying. I could get that, but not necessarily. I wouldn't classify it as taunts necessarily. Taunts like, you gonna do it, huh? Are you? Are you gonna do it? You gonna put your lightsaber on me? You want to try that? That's a taunt.
Yeah. Well, it's like in a way, I kind of feel like it makes sense for him to question that. I mean, she was his apprentice, and she left the order right before shit hit the fan. So it's like, you know, I don't know.
No. Reanimated stormtroopers. What's the point of that? Just clone them. Like what's an element of like the droids in the prequels or the stormtroopers in the original sequels is that they're just like the immortals. They're a swarm. You know, one falls and two more shall appear, like Samael. It's an inexhaustible force of mediocre warriors. That's like the dichotomy. You do the Persians versus Spartans. The good guys, like in Lord of the Rings, for instance, or the Jedi, they're finite, but they're well-seasoned warriors versus the swarms, Vorks, goblins, Uruk-hai, or droids, or stormtroopers. This is like a easy dichotomy for your heroes and villains. So interesting that you have heard this, but yikes.
Few live to see him become Darth Vader, and then taunts her even further, saying it's because she walked away and abandoned him that he turned. Now, Ahsoka, if you guys didn't know, holds a lot of resentment for herself.
That's not what he said directly, but he implied that could have been it.
Well, yeah, I really liked that at the end of season 5, then in season 7, where it's like, man, if she was just there with them, what could have been? You know,
I don't think it would have made a difference, honestly, but you know,
might have. I mean, narratively, in hindsight, the way you can write it is like tragedy. It's like, I just did this one thing. It might be different. How much of this is on my hands for inaction? I stepped away when I could have had the biggest impact, and I never knew it.
But it's like they make it as if she walked away from Anakin. She walked away from the Jedi because they pretty much did not trust her, and so
it's kind of one and the same.
Like, oh, you're coming back now.
I'd say from her perspective, it's one and the same ultimately, and that's why it's so tragic because she has such a personal investment with this guy. Being her master and tutor, and they've kind of become equals almost, and then her walking away from this order also entails her walking away from her investment. That's
so much more of a stretch, though, to me. Like
that's not a stretch. That's why it's such a sad turn.
So like, not like I don't know, like in the military or something. If you leave because you know top brass and everybody's like fucking you over, it's not like you're you're abandoning your friend that's there. I don't know.
That's a reasonable take for your friend to think that, though. If it's like, well, I got framed for something, and then I'm turning away, and the friend is like, but I'm part of this system, and I'm on your side. It's like, I don't care. It's kind of like the Captain America Civil War dichotomy.
Because it would imply that you are going to still take orders from them, even though they've shown that they don't give a fuck about your.
Well, by staying in, you are. That's kind of the dichotomy there.
I don't know.
It's like Captain America, where it's like, wait, you knew the whole time about the Winter Soldier? He's like, yeah.
And they
so
walked
it's like,
away.
you've been complicit thus far. This is a betrayal. And so by Anakin knowing all this stuff, knowing the blind spots of the Jedi and how they almost like they've indicted, almost convicted, Ahsoka for a conspiracy to blame her, and he's still going along with it, even though he has all these like reservations about the system in place. He's still inherently maintaining the system. This is like this parting of ways. There's a whole baggage there.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying I don't see how it would be, how she would see it as her own fault.
Well, it's retroactive. It's like, well, I'm leaving, and sorry, master. And then in hindsight, it's like, oh, by me walking away, I had no impact in maybe making the outcome different. So, like, this is personal culpability is a question for the character.
Yeah, no, a post question, sure, but like a lot of other my point isn't just her. A lot of other people are pretty much saying that it's like,
it'd be like a guy working on the Hoover Dam. And he's like, man, all my other friends shirk on the responsibility. They don't properly.
When other people are saying that she abandoned him, when other people are saying that, I just don't see how that applies to that. When clearly, the situation is how she got fucked. And yeah, like Anakin could say, like, yeah, you walked away from me.
I guess that could be a taunt. I guess what I would have to agree that I guess it is a taunt when he's portraying like, oh, you abandoned him.
But then it's also like, I don't understand how all these people know that Anakin was the one that did it. Like, it's where the fuck was this guy when Order 66 happened?
Shut up.
Like, it's like, that's one of the things I also don't like what that they do, is having all these people know that it was Anakin. And it's like, how the fuck does everybody know that? There wasn't that many people around to know it was Anakin.
Shut up. That's why.
For this thing, she often blames herself for Anakin's downfall to the Sith as Vader because she feels, had she not left.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine with me. It's fine with me if she is feeling some type of guilt, that she feels maybe she could have done something. That makes sense. That's fine.
Vader, because she feels, had she not left the Jedi, perhaps she could have convinced him to change his ways or been there for him during his downfall, during his dark times. Baylan says he's trying to create a better future. Now, I think personally what he means by this is that he has motivations of his own to rebuild perhaps
this is another problem I have, again, is like all these characters that have these ambitions to change the world. I'm sorry, like what we seem to never see how shitty it is, or what is making him want to do that. Like the Empire was in control for like 30, or the Republic was in control for like 1,000 years. And then the Empire's control for like 30 years or 20 years or however much. And now it's after that. And you're like, I need to, make the future better. And then like,
I think that's
like,
why
I don't know.
Have that
it's just like,
in the Mandalorian with the Doctor, where you see, even though the Republic's supposed to be the good guys, you see the corners they're cutting or not cutting, the things that they're stonewalling as policy, that is a shortcoming themselves.
No, I get it, but I mean, I'd like to see this character experience something that.
Well, it's unless they recast a younger version,
like,
you're never going to see it because Ray Stevenson's dead, unfortunately.
I know, but I'm just in general, you know what I'm saying. Like as far as telling a story here, I'm tired of them always just kind of going, because it's just a generic, like evil character thing of like, I'm trying to change things, and it's like, the world keeps on changing for you guys all the time though. So like this whole wanting to make it better for the future. I don't even know what the fuck that would mean in this world at all. Like what would be different? What can be done differently? It was at peace for so long, and then the regime changed, and then it changed again. what's your next regime change going to do? Like, I just don't see.
Yeah.
Like, I'd like to see more of a foundational buildings of that. Is my point. Like,
well, it's funny
I'm
because
fine if he wants to have that be the goal. If he doesn't,
I'm
think the
looking
Republic
at
can rule it, but
I've never looked at this specific shot as like a still, and it's like, wow, God, I love Lucas with like, you know, layering the like using the symbology on screen to help accentuate the story, you know. So you got the light on the right, which again, light and right-handed is like hand in hand through religious symbology, you know, all these like good savior messiah characters, Jesus, the Buddha, a lot of Indian art of all the saints. They always have like their right hand up with the sign of peace, you know. And here's Anakin alone, furthest away from the light on screen, with like, you know, the dark. It's just like, it's a nice, you know, people could just passively watch this and be like, okay, cool, he's alone, but like they're not taking it like, oh, like there's a layer to the story. Like there's a imagery layering that like Star Wars generally, unless they just do it outright obvious or they just mimic, new Star Wars just never gets it.
yeah.
Where it's like they did the scene of like Shin is like framed the same way as like Maul, and it's like, yeah, but there's like, he's obviously like this like demon character who's in league with the soon to be Emperor, so we already have like a layering with that shot. And it's just a shot, it looks good, it's a wide shot, you know. It's epic, it's very
I hate how she has no
Sergio Leone style, versus when other guys just copy it, that framing, there's no background to it.
Yeah.
Jedi Order of some sorts. Dooku wanted to do the same and have thousands of Force users that were dark. However, of course, Anakin stopped that plan.
Fucking what? Okay, I've already. So is he just? I know that Star Wars Theory probably does all this like extra deep digging, but as far as the context of the films were concerned, when the fuck was that a goal? To have thousands of dark Force users? Is he pulling from a fan fiction? Like, I don't know where that came from. He wanted the Jedi to see a different perspective, but at best. But he was also just kind of wanting to. He's doing his master's thing and killing that, like, you know. I don't know where he got this idea.
No.
I'm sorry. I'm just kind of annoyed. He keeps on stating things as facts that aren't facts. You know, it's like no. I don't know. Like, it's just. I don't know why it's bugging me so much, because like, well, of course it's from his perspective or how he's describing it. Well, yeah, but I feel like he's describing it wrong entirely. Like, not, like, I feel like you could be more objective in how you're describing events, and then, or just his opinion. I don't know, because he's saying it like he's like, this is.
Of course, it's fact.
Okay, yes.
With Sidious's help, Ahsoka uses only one of her sabers, and I think it's because she'll need one hand to grab the map, so she's kind of limiting herself. Otherwise, her Shoto, which is a shorter saber, would have been deadly in this duel at close range for stomach strikes. Her and Balin's fight is something.
Obviously.
That sounds like basic. If you have two swords, then you have an advantage over one sword. But I would say it doesn't mean shit, because Dooku and Anakin had a fucking fight too, and you know what happened there. You know,
also Kenobi single-handedly defeating General Grievous, who's taken out
Yeah.
multitudes of Jedi.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. That doesn't, especially if you're really good and skilled. I don't know. It doesn't. Again, there should have been a lot of different types of things with these two clashing that aren't fully Sith, aren't fully Jedi. Should have been interesting, but they glaze over it like they always do. So
Shut up. From my point of view.
yeah.
Amazing. I haven't seen this kind of lightsaber fighting since the prequels. Mind you, nothing compared to Nick Gillard's, of course, but great to see nonetheless.
I
Shin
mean,
disarms
so
Sabine.
I mean, the saber battles here were not as shit as others, I guess.
Dude,
but,
honestly,
like,
I really liked the fight of Rey and Kylo. It felt like, ooh, I do not want to get stabbed in the gut with the lightsaber when I watch that scene.
Just in general, I feel like. In general, I feel like they have no idea how to have fight scenes with impact and substance and character as well. Like, there's ways to do fight scenes that can.
Well, no, I think,
and they're really bad at that.
Singular content. I think the Force Awakens lightsaber fight's pretty good until they get to like you need to teach her. And then she's like, oh yeah, the Force. Force
that's
things.
That's still dumb too, but I'm just referring to this fight as well. Like it's it's better than other ones, sure, but like they still have no idea how to like create a substantive fight, which is really annoying. It's
Sorry,
just, like,
what I was trying to go for with the like think Force things, I was trying to go for Forrest Gump, where he's like, I remember my first pair of shoes.
Where Sabine tries to use the Force and Shin flinches. Now, I don't think this is because she used the Force at all. I think it's because Shin just thought maybe something would come at her, perhaps. But I could be wrong. Maybe she used the Force for half a second.
Isn't this empowering? Look at this scene.
I mean, no.
I look at her, I'm like, I hope you lose. You're just.
I thought she was going to lose her hand, at least.
You're so lame.
Here. Yeah.
Also, there's another problem. So she's a punk rebel, like rebel to society, not just like a rebel, but rebel to society. I think she's a princess of Mandalore, and also now she's a Jedi in training. And
she's gonna have more titles than Thrawn.
Yeah, it's like I talk about it. Assassin's Creed Odyssey has this problem of Alexios or Cassandra, whoever you play as, they are stacked. Where it's like, all right, you're the grandson of Leonidas. Also, Leonidas is part of a legacy of Atlantis, and thus his spear is magically imbued somehow. And your father's Pythagoras, who is like a super entity keeper, and
you're trained by the most skilled warrior ever, and
your stepfather is the Wolf of Sparta. And really stack.
How could you ever lose?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, you could just make him a Spartan offspring that never did the Agogi, and was outcast by society, assumed dead, and that's enough. But fortunately, despite overstacking the character like Superman in a way, where it's like, well, how could you lose? They give him enough like obstacles to make the story endearing, despite making him OP. This is like they make her OP, and there's no real downside, and there's nothing endearing about her.
Well, I mean, with this character Sabine, I mean, they're trying to make her endearing, but they're really bad at it.
The fact that they've like made her questionably bad now for her end goals, I'm like, oh, thank God, you're adding at least
it's like
complexity.
they had her lose 2 fights here, so that's a plus. But it's like it's such a minimal.
But I'm not rooting for her. That's the problem. But if she's a Darksider, I might like, oh, okay.
Well, that's my thing too. Her character isn't very likable.
I hope Ahsoka has to kill her for the greater good, and this it's tragic.
But
then it's like, oh, well, at least it kind of paid off.
I mean, they could have they could have made it where she is stronger than other Force users without the Force or something. But they didn't. So that's a surprise.
All right.
But it was pointless. Baylan and Ahsoka continue to fight, where he tells her that Anakin and her legacy only brings death and destruction. So he clearly doesn't like Vader.
He has a legacy?
Wait, who has a legacy?
He said Anakin and her legacy only bring death and destruction. What legacy does she have in the Star Wars world?
Well, by stepping away from Anakin, she is arguably culpable for all the downfall.
Oh, but she has no legacy though. that's a part to play in it, sure, but not a legacy. Like Anakin specifically brought down the Jedi. She didn't. She stepped away.
Well, you gotta think.
If we're gonna have like guilt by association.
Wait.
I don't know. That's
so again. This is again where like leftist perspective, if not like checked, can bring about bad writing. All right, so these people are all like Hollywood leftists, ANCAP, Antifa, etc. Even though they're working for like a mega capitalist organization that's trying to like use their money to influence politics and buy all the competition out. And dictate like small businesses like theaters where it's like, no, you're going to give us 70%. Or we're just not going to let you have our movie. So it's like they're forced to take that shitty deal. Different aspects like that. When you have this perspective unchecked, they have this perspective of silence is violence. So Ahsoka's kind of bad, even though they're trying to make her, because she's a woman, good, and she's stepped away. So she's like, I saw past the folly of the Jedi because I'm a woman. Like, that's kind of, I think, the sentiment they're writing. Even if they have like layered things to justify her perspective, this is like the end all sentiment. They're never going to purposely make a woman bad. Even if they make Morgan Elsbeth bad, it's only because of men somewhere in the story. And here it's like silence is violence. This is their perspective. This is the mantras they'll tout. They'll tout these very Sith absolutes of reality that are just memes that, like,
I don't know. It's just like Hitler's second isn't. Oh, who's that legacy? Who's that guy? Like, that's nothing. Like, I don't know. He says him and her legacy. Just, I don't know. Seems it doesn't really apply in general. Nobody would lump the two. But whatever.
Yeah. All right.
Didn't care for the Empire. Or perhaps he felt Anakin's betrayal of the Jedi and the killing of all the Jedi during Order 66 is what he's massively resentful over. Perhaps he lost someone important to him during Order 66. I guess we'll find out. Ahsoka kicks him aside and grabs the map. This burns her hand. In fact, I think the map actually gets burned into her palm. And maybe
Oh, no, they're going to do Indiana Jones. That's what they're going to do. They already tried to pull Indiana Jones from the opening scene of her, like, figuring out the archaeology.
True.
That's totally what they're doing. Watch it happen next episode.
Yep.
Actually, this one piece is exactly what I need to find the star map.
I have the exact cord. We're doing all this holographic stupid stuff to do whatever, but as long as it's burned on my hand, I can find it.
Like, oh, I just had to burn my hand. Never mind. Because, yeah, this is the plot. Like, where are they going? We don't know. We don't have the map. It got destroyed.
Yeah, no one will be following us. Oh, but lucky for us, the Force caught her after it burned on her hand. Well, yeah, he didn't count on the Force. He did not count on the Force catching her, literally, and then yeah.
she has the coordinates in her hand. This leaves her in pain during the fight with one arm, and she's extremely limited now. She fends Balin off, but it's really no use.
Wait. Why didn't she just force seal her hand? Idiot.
It's like, I can see how, your hand might hurt now, but I also don't know. I don't know. Like,
I don't know. I think whatever limitation it is, I don't think it's enough for her to just be, oh, I'm totally weak in one arm. It's like Lone Survivors, based on a true story. Those guys got fucked up before they died. It's like, oh, a guy gets hit in the hand, and he's still like, well, use my other hand.
I guess I also, with lightsabers, like, he's coming down on her one. I don't see how it'd be that hard to, like, move aside to.
That would be like some Looney Tunes shit, like Roadrunner and Coyote, where he's like, I am going to deal the death blow.
Yeah.
Oh no, I never anticipated you moving slightly to your right.
or in Family Guy, I'm going to try some evasive maneuvers. You're just moving to the left slightly. Oh, wow, where'd they go? Oh, look, he's moved to the left slightly. Wow,
slightly
this is evasive maneuvers.
Something I noticed with his swings is that they are very heavy and long-winded. And I think he's using the heaviest setting on his lightsaber, which means that, one strike
in Germany. Wait. I didn't know you could change the setting of weight on your lightsaber.
What?
I had no idea this was a thing. It was
never implied. Wow, that was never implied in the films. Wow.
Let me adjust my lightsaber. Fuck.
I lost because I was fighting you on this other level. Oh, God.
Let me set. It's like
is that
Buzz Lightyear? Where he's like, he's like, don't worry, I'm gonna set my laser from stun to kill.
That's why Mando.
Like, blink him to death.
Mando just had on the wrong setting the whole time. That's why he couldn't wield.
That's so heavy. It's like, well, if you just turn down the weight settings, you'll be able to swing with efficiency.
Senior citizen, switch. Yep, there you go.
Yeah, it's just like a phone. Oh, you just had to put the text on bold, Grandpa.
Didn't come with paper instructions. How am I supposed to know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ah, crap! I have it muted. Damn.
Which means that one strike is extremely powerful and deadly, as it carries so much weight behind it that it requires a big, strong person to be able to wield that around.
If you just
much like
is this? Did they add this to the canon to try to explain why like Luke and Vader are like really? Because they told him like fight like knights, and Luke's like, hey, like we could try to do some stunt work, make it more like woo, like no, I want it to be heavy like knights fighting. It makes it more epic, and that was the idea in the original trilogy. It's just like okay, cool. It does help enhance the epic duel. It's not like flashy, it's just like impactful. So I get that, but if like this is how they're trying to explain it, it's like, well, what the hell is that for the Darksaber?
They don't need to explain any of it. They don't need to explain it.
I just assume it's his fighting style. The Sith are so like deadly; they don't have rules. They're trying to kill their opponents.
Well, you can swing really hard, or
they are attacking. They're offensive.
Yes.
The Jedi is defensive. They are Miyagi-Do.
Yes, exactly. Yes, to Cobra Kai. Yes, exactly. Well, so it's like he's like it's more deadly than. So if I feel like if I just lightly cut you with the lightsaber, it would do just as much. It would do just as much damage as if I did it.
That's really how Vader killed that simp lady on his ship. If he had the setting to light, it would not have impacted her and thus killed. He had to do heavy setting on his lightsaber. Oh,
that makes it even more dumb because then it's like now when they fight, they've got to make sure they've got the right settings on to make sure that I don't know.
It's like
it was their technique. It was their technique.
Who the hell turned my lightsaber to Padawan setting?
You could have a light sword, a very light compared to a heavy sword.
Dude, the Musketeers, that whole era, they had sabers, which are very light weapons that kill people.
Well, like, my point being, you can swing hard on a light weapon regardless. It doesn't. You don't need to have it be set to heavy.
That's why my
that makes it.
That's why
really
my bullet
dumb.
Didn't kill the guy because I had it set to light settings. It's stupid.
The lightsaber styles in Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast. Shin shows up and Sabine loses herself in anger, thinking Sabine died. So she uses the Force to throw Shin into a stone pillar.
I'm sorry. That also is kind of dumb. I mean, don't they sense shit in the Force or like sense people or like? I mean, I'd be okay with it, I guess. Like
Yoda, he starts feeling everyone dying. It's like,
it's like I thought, okay, if she can't feel Sabine because she's stupid in the Force or something, okay, whatever. But I would have even liked more expression from her here. I mean, this was the most expressive I think I've seen her in this whole show. Is when seeing her, it makes you think that Sabine might be dead, sure, but I still feel like there could have been more here for either. Like the one girl didn't just immediately jump in, which seems like what she would do based on how we see her do things, but she was hanging back and chilling, and it's like I thought she would have kind of immediately joined her master in battle here, but
this is
like I don't know anything about the character. The way they do the characters is really dumb, so I don't know, it's not really showing it, but she does. Ahsoka doing some expression was welcomed. Yes, I agree.
All right.
Knocking her out unconscious. This was definitely not a very Jedi thing. She used her anger for sure, but with using her anger, it uncentered her balance. So Baylan hits her off the cliff, sending her to her possible death. Sabine shoots and screams at Baylan as he blocks every attack perfectly. If you pay attention, he moves his saber before the blast is even fired. This guy is definitely something else, and he's very, very strong.
I feel like that could be chalked up to like just a choreography thing that they're just like, oh yeah,
right. But also it's like, well, he's a proficient Force user, and she's like a novice, and she's using an archaic blaster against the art of the lightsaber.
I guess so. Yes.
This is a full heavyweight lightsaber as opposed to robots lightsaber. Just want to make sure it's clear.
Thank you.
Destroy the map. He closes his eyes and reads Sabine's mind. This is a dark side trick.
Okay, hold on. I hate that already. It just reads their mind. I'm okay with like sort of feeling something out a little. Like
It was
you know,
cool when Kylo
like-
did it. He's like mind raping her. It's very like intense. He
Well,
did
yeah.
it to Poe, and it's like, ooh,
Well, so I meant like
you're subconsciously when you watch it, you're like, oh, he is like forcing himself. Force Star Wars, but it's like it's like he is crossing a bodily, a psychological autonomy threshold. Thus, he's the bad guy. And this is like he's so passive. It's like I could have before he said things, I could have think like, he just kind of centering himself or calming himself a bit in the Force after this fight, and it just okay, yeah, sure, he's reading your mind, but it's kind of underwhelming.
No, I mean more like if when he's doing this, like instead of reading their mind, more like kind of getting an idea of
a more subtle take. Dooku,
more
where he's like
I sense that you are accepting your you're not gonna
fear in you, Skywalker.
So something like that, where it's like I sense doubt. You are you're feeling helpless right now. You're not. Yeah, which just makes sense because you're against.
If they did something like it doesn't have to be that, but like Xavier in the prequels of X-Men, when he's like he does his telepathy, he's always like, this is our sign of like, all right, he's going into another realm of consciousness versus like unless they like zoom in on him and he's like, let me not be obvious.
I'm trying to go on. I'm really trying to go on the fact that she's not very good at the Force and he is by comparison, and that he, instead of like probing the mind, can search her feelings, I guess, a little to more get a gist of what she's up to right now after just trying to pew 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 pew, and that fails. She sees Ahsoka's down, like probably feels hopeless, and this map that she's supposed to destroy has Ezra, the location to Ezra, so it's like feeling her emotions out rather than reading her mind. Like
he's gonna feel her out all right.
Because then otherwise, it's like with the Jedi, doing a Jedi mind trick, which sounds like a Sith trick, to be honest. Like getting people to like say compelling them to expel the truth or whatever. Like that's not reading perspective. That's not reading their mind.
But. Says by this logic, if psychics are real, then they are all evil. I have a very, I guess, nihilistic perspective on things. I don't really think I love watching this good and evil dichotomy, like storytelling, but I don't actually like view the world necessarily black, white, and all that. I think of these powers as tools. Example I was telling Rookie in the Aragon, the inheritance cycle from like the Dragon book Aragon. He ends up training with the elves, I think, in book 2 or 3, and he's like, "Why don't you fuckers eat meat? What the hell's wrong with you?" And it's like. It's hard to, you'll just have to figure it out. And so like he starts learning magic and stuff, and he learns how to like peer into like prey's minds. So when he's hunting, he's using magic to peer into, see the view of the rabbit, and thus kind of cheat killing it. And when he like does it, he realizes that, like when he snuffs out its life and like feels that like loss of connection, he's like, oh no, like this is cheating. This is beyond predator prey dichotomy. This is crossing a line. And thus he now is in tune with the logic of the elves and their abstinence from meat, because how they achieve this is ultimately nefarious. But the tool of being able to do this is not good or bad, But yeah, I think there is kind of a with vampirism. There's like an inherent like this is demonic, like their powers.
Well, it's invasive into It's invasive into literally what people aren't supposed to hear. They can just know, and it's like that's a huge betrayal. That's why I think the Jedi mind trick is more of an evil power, or not evil, but dark side power of like hey, I'm gonna make you tell the truth. You don't want to tell it, but I'm gonna make you tell it. Like that's a little fucked up.
Yeah.
If you're on the side of peace and good and crap, like it's a pretty harsh little power.
Yeah, no, I think there is a point, I guess, that I guess deductively, if I'm living a good bad dichotomy, then yes, it is, I guess, an inherent evil however minuscule, especially with context like, well, I did the bad thing for good.
Well,
I
it would
robbed
depend
this
if-
man of his agency
it-
to
it-
stop the World Trade Center
it would
attack.
depend. It would depend if they give you consent to read their mind, I guess. But like, if they could just do it and start doing whatever, that's kind of where it gets more fucked up.
No means yes, and yes means anal. That's where we're at.
Yeah. Well, that'd be the thing. It's like, do you want to have sex with me? And they go, no. But then they read your mind. No, your mind says yes. So, it's like, well, yeah, but I don't feel.
Your mind is
my
telling me
mind-
no, but your body is telling me yes, to
No,
quote a great legend, R. Kelly.
Yes, of course.
We know how that turned out.
Exactly. So it's like, I don't care what that says. I'm going to listen
You know
to
what that
part.
was? He was telling the world about his Jedi mind tricks.
Yes.
Thank you, Gizmo. Well, it's all spawned because of your comment. That was just a perception I never thought about of like, oh, it's inherently evil to be a mind peer.
Yeah.
It's her conflict that she wants Ezra, and the only way to get him is with the map. He calls her bluff.
I could hear Trupp saying, Ezra.
Ezra.
She won't destroy it. He offers her to come with them willingly, and this was a big twist in the episode. I didn't see this coming at all. It definitely makes the story more intense and something that you just wouldn't.
No, it makes the story actually have some weight, when before I was like, this is boring. You have a lot of plot to unfold, but there is no investment.
There's nothing to chew on. There's nothing to get interested in. This is like, I was expecting them to do the typical thing of where she goes, no, I'll never do it. And then it's like, oh,
I'll never.
Okay. Like, I hate it when they just double down on that all the time. It's like, oh, you actually are going along with them. Thank you. Now it's a little different, and Ahsoka might think a little differently too, and this could have some drama. A little bit of drama here.
Ahsoka is, she failed to take action with Anakin, and thus maybe influence his decision making. And now she's been waffling on training Sabine, and now this has come to bite her in the ass.
Oh God, hold on. Sorry. Now, okay, you said that when she came out of the world between worlds, she like lost her emotions essentially, right?
Yeah, she's like just a neutral entity now, essentially.
So is she learning to have emotions again, or is she still in? Because why would she give a fuck about anyone really? If she's this emotion. Okay, he's got somebody at the door, I think. So I don't know. Like, I feel like, if she comes out of the world between worlds, it's kind of like this emotionless thing, and then she's getting. I don't know. I didn't see that stuff, so I don't know how much sense it's supposed to make, but it doesn't seem to fit very well. And so she gets a little angry, thinking that Sabine might be dead, which I think would be good for the character. I do wish there was even more kind of anger with it. That wasn't just like a brief thing. I kind of wish the moment was a little bit longer, but that was a sign of something.
Sorry, where were we?
I was saying that like Ahsoka, like not having her emotions, like so when she gets angry that Sabine might have been killed, so she does care, or like that's the thing too. I don't understand Ahsoka's motivations or caring. If she had the memories but doesn't have the attachments or care anymore, really, like the emotions, then I feel like she'd behave even more differently than this. Like she wouldn't even be giving a fuck about helping the Republic. Like I don't know what her character would actually want here. She's just going with the motions because she's supposed to be a good guy,
Yeah, they've done a bad attempt at like Gandalf the White coming back, where it's like he's fuzzy, but he still has like a personality, even if it's minimized from the first movie, and he's like growing back into it to some degree.
Yeah.
But now he's like, all right, yeah. Before I was like I'd really get lost in smoking my pipe weed with the
he became more focused and knowledgeable and like more in tune with the earth in a way too. Like he was a different person after coming back, but yeah, still had enough remnants of a character to go forward. So with her, so I'm just saying, so when she gets angry that Sabine might have died, I'm just kind of like, well, this is the first time you've shown anything. Is this supposed to be where you're learning how to have emotions again, or is this like an inconsistency that it's just like you were this emotionless?
It's inconsistent because
kid?
the template is they only use it when they need it.
Because it's like I think because now I'm thinking about it, it would be interesting to have a character that is pulled out from this thing, okay, and she has all the memories, but none of the emotional attachment or anything to all that stuff.
Yeah,
so
she's
like,
become like a Buddhist monk.
So in a way, she's almost reborn, but she does have those memories. But her attachments going forward will be different, will be new. How she interacts with people will be different. But
it reminds me.
They want her to be the same character though, but they are just made her lame. Like I don't know what.
It reminds me of that Family Guy little random cut, or whatever, where it's like someone becomes Buddhist, and it's like someone gives them a gift, and it's like, oh, like I don't know, let's say it's a gift card for like Starbucks, and then someone gives them like keys to a new car, and he's like, I value these equally. It's like, fuck you.
Yes.
This is bullshit.
That's not. That's why I'm saying I love all my children. It's like, yeah, equally. Sure.
Well, I have two, and it's like there's. Well, it's funny you say that because like I don't have a favorite child. There's like an instant pull to the firstborn.
I know. Yeah, I'm fucking around with that one. That one's tough.
But if I see, I would need a third child to like really, I guess, feel.
Well, that one's the least.
Do I have? There's like. Oh well, I mean, if you're gonna kill any of my kids, like kill Scott.
If I'm gonna be grabbing my kids to save. That one's the last one I'm grabbing.
Yeah, it's like, I guess I'll save you. I guess I have time for a third trip back into the fire. No, our child is in there. It's like, oh no, not
which one?
Not Kevin. and they're like, Dad, I'm right here. It's like, oh, close one.
All right, no, but your other kid, but your other kid's in there. Hey, I heard you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm willing to live with that. That's actually a funny, like, they've done that with Meg and Family Guy to various degrees, but like, I think that's hilarious actually to like clean slate. Here's the dilemma. It's like, oh yeah, there's like the third kid. Whatever.
See happening. However, I can see why she did it, as her feelings for Ezra make her desperate and weak. Attachment is forbidden for Jedi. She
looks so good.
Does that make her weak though? I mean, they seem to go back and forth on whether or not that actually makes you weak or strong nowadays. So I don't understand. And for a Jedi, she's not even a fucking Jedi at all. She's just a person that I'm sorry. Again, he's like making these statements that are just like, okay, is that why? Because that's his opinion on it, I guess. That because it's Jedi week and whatever. But wait, somebody at your house?
I don't know. I'm just hearing something. I don't know if it's like the rain coming down all of a sudden or what. Yeah. I don't have my air on, so I'm hearing more noises, and it's like, well, it's not me tapping my desk or anything. It's no passive like jitter. I don't know what it is, but whatever.
Hands the map to Baylan as Shin Hati force chokes Sabine and is ordered to release her after 2 commands. Now, I think Shin Hati might betray Baylan eventually, as she seems much more evil.
You don't say. You don't say
she's
all the women are going to team up.
She's jealous and evil and whatever
against the white male. See, this is again like where there's interesting things. Sometimes, unfortunately, I have to fall back on wokeness, which I don't like bringing this context to film and entertainment, but unfortunately this is a reality we have to question every time with anything from this company of like, are they going to actually tell a story with reasonable developments and nuance, or is it going to fall in these kind of ultimately the women can be bad, because or minorities can be bad, where it's like, yeah, this is my concern, where it's like, I don't feel this is necessarily organic, because there's the quotes when like the Rise of Skywalker book, whatever, about Filoni and matriarchy and Leia and stuff, where it's like, well, the patriarchy's made all the wars. We need to follow a woman. And it's like, God, like, how do you work with George Lucas and have like such a retarded just assumption of gender, where it's like this robs people of their agency, of like they made decisions because of whatever philosophies in life they had, whatever circumstances, like Magneto, for instance, where it's like I never questioned the logic of his decisions. It's just like he is usually at odds with the general populace, because ultimately he unknowingly kind of is set up to be a Hitler with very different motives to become that, with his like ultimate goal of genociding the lesser form of humanity. This is like his blind spot. Everything that's made him have the worldview is actually crafting him to be another Hitler.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think, oh well, he is a man, so he is going to do bad. It's like, I never think that with a character like Magneto or Xavier as a counter. I don't think, well, he's doing good because he's a man, or Mystique is bad because she's a woman, or what. It's like, that's why I have these concerns. Whatever good stuff Filoni can bring, I'm expecting it to fall in these kind of forced political takes through the art, which is unfortunate. I hate money influencing art to like shirk the storytelling. Like Last Jedi, I think, really is a great example of the pulling the curtain up on the form of Star Wars. But then it's like, well, we can't sell Star Wars if it's gray and nuanced and complicated. We got to do bad and good, and so thus Rey can't join Kylo because that would be bad. That's why I say that. Let me look at the chat really quick. Tell that to Victoria Newland.
I don't know who it is.
I'll have to look into who that is. Continuing.
Than him. The map is back online, and Elsbeth's ship is calculating the proper coordinates. Hera and the X-Wings get into formation as Balin destroys the map with his lightsaber. Now no one can get the coordinates to Thrawn or Ezra. The only people who have it are Elsbeth. However, we got to remember...
Morgan Elsbeth. I just had to.
Maybe the coordinates are in Ahsoka's palm. But
yeah, see, caught on.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. They head to Elsbeth's ship and engage the hyperdrive ring as they blast off. Now, the ring is empty, of course, and a lot of us were thinking maybe a Purgle is going to get strapped to it or something like that, but this is because that they're probably waiting to dock Thrawn's kind of...
Wait. Didn't in the show they say space whales?
Yeah, they said space whales, not a name.
And then I'm hearing him, it's called a Purgle, which is like,
why did they fucking say the Purgles then? They're like, oh, the space
why would
whales.
like, it's one thing for us humans of Earth to watch a thing and be like, oh look, it's a space whale. It's like, this describes the thing I'm saying.
It's like laser sword, honestly. Even though it's a line from Phantom Menace, I still don't actually like that line. It's like, there's a laser sword, but at most it's like, well, it's a backwater kid.
Well, he's a kid.
That's what I'm saying. At worst,
like,
or at best, it's like that could be stretched to where he doesn't know what the fuck a lightsaber is. Why would he know what a lightsaber is? So
honestly, no. Actually, the more I think about it, it's actually dumb because he, as an 8-year-old, is like a proficient mechanic that has built his own pod racer. So he should understand mechanics.
It's like laser. Well, it's like a sword implies that they have swords, but and lasers, but not laser swords. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's
actually
like if it wasn't for the context of pod racing, then I could totally excuse that line. I've never actually noticed it and thought, oh man, fuck you, George Lucas. Write better.
Yeah,
like,
it's like,
but now I'm like, actually, yeah, George Lucas, shut the fuck up.
It's an annoying line because now they use that line often, saying laser swords, and then they also say space whales, and it's like,
or
no,
wizard.
That's us. Yeah, that's us saying something. They shouldn't. No.
Chimera or who knows what to it when they head back once they get them. This was a monster hyperspace jump as it disoriented everyone in space in the area. As we pan the ruins and ocean where Ahsoka and Balin fought, we enter the world between worlds.
He just says it. He just says it. He just says it.
World between worlds.
He just says it so casual. He just says it so casually. We enter the world between worlds as we just go.
It should be like, oh my god, we're doing this again, live action.
We see the green meadows. We see the green meadows, and we pan up to the world between worlds. It's like, no, like that's it's just there now. Whatever. Let's just go. Let's finish this.
Is a place that we saw in Star Wars.
Wait. You notice her horns?
No.
On Ahsoka, her horns.
What about them?
I wonder if her nipples look the same. It's just.
Yeah, I don't know. They don't seem to ever want to show it, so.
I would love a R-rated Star Wars where they actually have like some. They've already brought in brothels and stuff in this world. Just go for it. Make an adult Star Wars. You're already putting Deadpool on fucking Disney Plus. Fucking have some sex in Star Wars.
Adults will buy Star Wars things if it's good, so.
Yeah, this idea it's just got to be for every age, and like no, like you can have your brackets. Like there's like the X-Men cartoon.
They made
there's
stupid
there's
like things for kids. Have something else for adults.
It's like, do you like Star Wars and you're horny? But we got a show for you.
Place that we saw in Star Wars Rebels. This is where all space and time echo. So every moment in Star Wars and the Star Wars galaxy can be found here through doors and portals. You can see any moment.
You know what? I just want to go back to episode 4.
Yeah.
There's the window. Great.
Later.
You want within Star Wars. You want to see Qui-Gon's death? You can do that. You want to see Anakin and Obi-Wan? You can do that. You want to see the original trilogy, any moment in there? You can do that. You'll even hear voices of many different people in Star Wars when you're walking around in this place. Now, Ahsoka was saved by Ezra in Rebels in this place when he pulled her out of a portal as she was about to be killed by Darth Vader when they were fighting. She stands up and we hear Anakin say, "Hello, Snips," as she turns around and sees Anakin Skywalker standing there.
I would have loved if he called her Nips instead. Especially with that Obi-Wan clip.
Or no, just hello, jailbaits. You've grown up.
Sometimes
he has the Padme lines that she had on him. Oh my goodness!
Sometimes he'd have to fight the first run of train on her after every victory.
Just like my goodness, you've grown.
Or mongering politician behind Iraq war in Ukraine. Oh, okay. So often you can. So you spelled it New Land, but when I looked it up with that spelling, Nuland came up. So I have a tab to look into her. Acting U.S. Deputy Secretary of State. Oh, God, a woman. Again, this is great. I'm glad you pointed out because, like, look, a Secretary of State or Deputy Secretary of State, a woman. Hillary Clinton was also a Secretary of State, and State, not Defense. And Benghazi is one thing under her belt. We don't know of any other shadowy stuff that is warmongering like. A woman in charge of that. It's funny. This silly perspective of gender codifying your personhood. Essentially, this is why I actually avoid a lot of the like anti-woke commenters where they just get triggered or they're performing being triggered for the screen to pander to a certain audience that will believe it and not actually watch it themselves usually. So yeah, it's like I'm always trying to avoid that, and yet I can't help but see like, oh, they do have a point. They do have a perspective that isn't unfounded, but it's like, to what degree am I angered or triggered about it? It's all up to what they're giving me.
In the flesh, saying, "I didn't expect to see you so soon." End of the episode. So right here,
what does it mean? It reminds me like this little trick of an Anakin cameo in the World Between Worlds. It's like it reminds me of Family Guy with the Jesus miracles where he's like, ooh.
Yep, jangling keys.
Ooh, hold on. All right, I'm gonna sell my Hellboy statue.
Good.
Let's see. Oh, damn it. They bid and it's got 10 days to go. Fuck.
Well,
that means it's going to be like 2 weeks till I get paid and send it out. So, damn it. Hopefully someone else bids on it, but I'm just like, Argh.
Yeah.
My opinion, it might not really be Anakin, but boy, was it amazing seeing our boy Hayden, right? I think it looks pretty fantastic. No. They did a little D8.
Just seeing our boy Hayden doesn't mean shit.
Yeah, they did that in Obi-Wan, and it was like I was hopeful, and then they did nothing with it. Of weight.
I would say, like, that oh my god, you shouldn't care about this, but I know that Star Wars Theory is the type that will clap endlessly for just a visual cameo of a character on screen. So
yeah,
you
it's
know, this doesn't
unfortunate.
shock
This
me.
is like the leading voice of Star Wars commentary. I appreciate the birth of his channel, like the scope of it, all the stuff you can learn through him. But he's a comics explained of Star Wars. Ultimately, it's great. But there's this downside of like shill fandom, which is strange given like he really seemed to turn once he read that Bob Iger book about how they're like, fuck you, George. We don't care about your plans. We're gonna do what we want. Trash, that really seemed to be a turning point. They started being kind of like, yeah, Last Jedi and Pablo Hidalgo, there seemed to be more like, I don't like to overuse the word nuance, but like more range instead of just positivity or neutrality on things happening, which is nice. It's nice to actually see like some investment or hatred about certain things that he seemed to be kind of avoiding before. But then he's back to here at the Ahsoka and just fanboying and having no like critical thought.
It's like, what if this was Obi-Wan here? What if this was Yoda here? What if this was fucking Dexter Jester?
One thing
like,
to see.
I imagine he'd be excited about any of them. Like,
it's one thing to see, like, okay, Ben Shapiro makes waves with a stupid ass Barbie review that's clearly performative. However much he didn't like it, it's way over the top to take advantage of the post-Hillary Trump algorithmic social media. But then you see like EVS, who is like comic skate. He's on the right, more or less. He's fighting the wokeness in comics with his work. And he's like, oh, dude, the Barbie movie is fucking hilarious. It's fantastic. And it's like, and he has all this like baggage of thought to back up his perspective. So it's like, oh, here's a guy that generally, you just say like memes of what the movie's about, what it portrays, woke, that'd be a reaction. But then you like see, like, oh, and a guy has the clarity of mind to not be entrenched in his perspective about the world, and then I see Star Wars Theory where it's like, it seems like he's kind of come to that point, and then he's just falling back to like, oh yeah, cameo, wee.
Yep, it's as if Hidalgo never laughed at him for crying about seeing Luke.
It's irritating. It's like one thing to see like regular media, you're like, I kind of like the Obi-Wan show. It's like, well, I've seen enough of their Star Wars content where you get like, they're not Star Wars fans. They like hold the films in regard as good films, but they're not like legacy fans of that franchise. They don't have the full entrenched investment.
No,
They're just like,
Star
I like
Trek
this.
fans.
Yeah, Star Trek. I love when he annoys Jay with it. Oh, this reminds me of this episode of Star Trek. He's like, oh god, you're right. it's like my Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, oh god, working with this fucking agent. No one cares. Stop trying to make it happen.
Aging, he looks just like he looked in Revenge of the Sith. Now, a few questions I have here, which makes me really skeptical to see if this is Anakin or not. He's got the glove. He's got his mechanical hand. Why would he have his mechanical hand if he's dead? That doesn't happen. Because in Return of the Jedi, at the end, he was wearing a white robe,
I don't think
and he had his
would give a fuck. They just go, he looks like how he looked then, so whatever. They don't care. Like,
well, okay, here's the thing.
I don't think they put thought into
my
it.
perspective analyzing this is Anakin is in the world between worlds. He's outside of time and space before he fights Obi-Wan, before he falls to the dark side, which just adds it. So I'm thinking this is a real Anakin Skywalker before the main events of Revenge of the Sith at some point. And so he's physically there with Ahsoka. He's pulled her there to save her. And this just adds more complexity, or I would say complexity of like, this seems fucked up now because it seems like he's surprised when she disappears in Rebels when they fight. Because you're wondering, did he kill her? It's just left open. And then it's like, world between worlds. Ezra saved her, and it's a time loop. And so it seems like he's unaware of this. But now it's like, in hindsight, if he's physically there and done this, then he's he should know about
what
his
if
future.
What if he tries to kill her here? Like,
because the whole point of this thing is you can change the future essentially by saving someone. You don't get them out
no, but what the fuck? Why is she in here? She fell off a fucking cliff. This means nothing.
I'm interpreting as physical Anakin before episode 3.
Yeah, no, I get it. And then how about he tries to kill her? Fuck it, I don't care. Like, yeah, fuck you, bitch. I think it's all dumb here now with
it's a real can of worms. I really hope that we're going to a new galaxy and thus removing ourselves from the world between worlds and any of these plot holes like this, and you can just fresh start Star Wars.
Never go back to this galaxy again.
It's like, what happens? I don't know. All the characters that we're ever going to tell stories about have disappeared from the Star Wars universe, and now we're in a new Star Wars universe where we have no baggage and thus clean slate, and we can maybe fix Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger's crap. Yeah. That is my doomcock hope theory rumor.
I mean, in a way, there's that. Or if they can't even do that, just make a new fucking sci-fi thing that takes a lot of inspiration from Star Wars and make it fucking cool. But I don't know. Anyway, let's just finish this video.
You can sell it as 85% Star Wars.
Yeah.
No, that's like the trademark name I'm going for. 85% Star Wars.
That's what Snyder's new movie is trying to be, or whatever. I think.
Stylistically, I'm totally
probably
be Snyder making a Star Wars. Just don't actually let him touch the story at all. Have
he's not making a Star Wars thing, but he's making his own movie that was a
right. He's trying to make his own stars. Which again, do that instead of fucking fan films.
Yeah, I agree, man.
Hands. So what's the deal with that? Why does he have his weapon, his lightsaber? This is kind of weird and off-putting. But then again, maybe this placed the world between...
Oh, I thought that was a dildo. Whoops.
Yep.
The world is just where everyone goes when they become Force ghosts. Maybe this is like the next realm. And then when they go to the real world, then they're ghosts. Maybe this is like the next journey. Now, this might not be Anakin. And we hear that with the theme of the Vader theme, and right at the very end of the episode, switching up. It might be the son of Mortis, who we hear in the first episode of Ahsoka speaking out to her, or rather, the daughter, who is the son's sister. So let me explain.
She's dead.
I don't fucking care. I don't know.
The father and the daughter are dead.
Whatever.
You've wasted so much. You've wasted a decade of storytelling and kind of truncated stars of the sequel trilogy. You can't dip into Mortis now. Fuck you.
Yep.
The daughter is the embodiment of the light side, and if you saw the Clone Wars, you'd know that when Ahsoka died on Mortis, she gave her life to save her. And ever since, this small owl named Morai follows Ahsoka around, kind of like a guardian angel. This is why I think she's here in the world between worlds, which is an impossible place to get to. Even Palpatine couldn't get in here.
So impossible, Ahsoka's hopped in there twice.
This time, literally on accident, not ever trying at all.
She literally fell into the Force hole.
As if he did, a lot of damage could have been done with altering moments in the timeline, or seeing moments otherwise unable to see. I think her being saved by the godlike being of the daughter, the light side embodiment, gave Ahsoka certain abilities that otherwise wouldn't be granted to a mortal, landing her here. Now, this might not be...
Like the knowledge of Morgan Elsbeth. And lightsabers. As opposed to lightsabers.
Anakin, I saw this because it's weird that as a Force ghost, he has his mechanical gloved hand. However, maybe here was where Force ghosts live, as I mentioned. And this is like a normal living world. And anywhere outside of it, they turn translucent blue and glow. Now, I think the next episode...
I love that meme. Whoa.
We'll see Ahsoka and Anakin walking together. Maybe they'll see different moments in the Star Wars timeline. I mean, that would be absolutely insane. And perhaps he's explaining different scenes and different moments and different things to her. Maybe she'll constantly be blaming herself about how she could have saved him if she had stayed at the temple. And he'll say, well...
Moving on. She already did that. Yeah.
Why don't you find out for yourself,
All
Snips,
right, old
and maybe
man
push her
screaming.
into, I don't know, maybe Mustafar or something, and see what would have happened. And
Oh man,
that
it's
would
so delicious seeing good Star Wars, and then
be absolutely insane. And maybe when she dies, he pulls her out, or
bad
right
Star
before,
Wars. Oh no.
or whatever. Now, he might also shift into Darth
That was
Vader, as
okay,
we did
Star
get that
Wars.
theme, and something just seems kind of off. Like, you look at his lightsaber, it's the same lightsaber. It is the Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith lightsaber. A lot of people in the chat were saying it's Vader's. It's not. Vader's hangs from the top. This one hangs from the bottom. And it is looking exactly like his Revenge of the Sith saber. So I definitely have a lot of questions. Definitely going to make a lot of theory videos based on who I think Anakin could be or what's going on with him. I mean, and it might just be him. I hope it's him. But there's just a lot of questions I have here that I'm wondering about. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I think the next one is going to be really amazing. I think it's just...
Yeah.
I'm not surprised that he thinks that, but all right. Yeah.
Let me adjust the checks. I saw Disinferno pop back in. Gizmo says they did play the Vader theme though, and he has his mechanic playing a dark outfit. Yeah. I did notice that the way it faded into like darkness. So it's like, what does this mean? Disinferno says entire Sabine's family died in the Purge of Mandalore because Ahsoka didn't trust her to save them. That's why Ahsoka and Sabine are not friends at the start of the show. Sabine rebelling against Ahsoka. She doesn't want to listen to her orders anymore. That's why she doesn't destroy the map, because it's the only way to find Ezra.
Wait, she lost her whole She lost her whole family. I didn't get that impression at all. Wow. Okay.
I like the idea of a new galaxy where everyone loves stormtroopers. Oh yeah, stormtroopers just aesthetically playing with their design. Love it. It's always cool to see just the cool looks.
They can do new stuff though. That can look cool. That'd be neat.
No, we need new stormtrooper variants, Rookie.
This time the stormtroopers are purple.
They can fly now?
Now they can dig. They have drills on their head. They can dig in the ground.
Dude, I'm so glad I watched that Rick and Morty episode where it's about Disney Star Wars and stuff. And it's like, this robot has lightsabers for eyes. Like, damn it, he can't see shit. I love it. It's so meta about Star Wars sucks now. Balon said it. Yeah, again, so, like this episode is pretty good compared to the other episodes, but it's such a boring show that it's hard to follow the plot. 'Cause I'm just like, where is like an emotional hook? That's my problem. I like the idea of a new galaxy where everyone loves. I already heard that, but yeah, fun. Didn't expect to go this long. Have as much commentary about this show and Star Wars in general. At the state we're at, but thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Be here tomorrow for a stream. We should have Autistic Boobs / Mint Salad. She's had a couple names on Twitter. Should have her as a guest tomorrow, so that'll be fun. New spritz, a little energy to the show. We'll definitely be talking about ass versus baby face. And his cringe man baby reaction to pronouns in a game. Here there I can agree with the sentiment of rhetoric about like slippery slope or whatever. But God, that reaction is such a meme. I don't know if it was performative on purpose or not, or if it's like legitimately like how impassioned he is. I think it's cringe to be at that high a level for such a kind of minimal infraction socially on your sentiments. But yeah, look forward to seeing you tomorrow night, 9:15 Eastern, and appreciate it. Off to make dinner. Yeah, and thanks for joining Gizmo and Disinferno, Tim earlier, and the Rookie Critic for being a willing participant to learn the difference in lightsabers and light sabers.